says, you know, it talks about God. God was floating on water, blah, 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 this, that, this, that. I said, in the Bible, you have a Bible Concordia, which is a book in itself that gives you the definition of all the words in the Bible. And I said to them, listen, if you're starting from the Bible and you don't have a pretext telling you what's happened before God was floating on water, then when you're reading the Bible, you can't suppose that this happened when it wasn't said in the Bible. For example, when you talk about the whole thing of Adam and Eve, when I said how, you know, Eve came from Adam and they were married. Well, there's no part in that part of the Bible that speaks about what a marriage is. The only part of the Bible that I know speaks about a marriage was in the New Testament with the wedding feast of Cana. So that will suppose that Adam and Eve weren't married. There wasn't a ceremony when Adam and Eve were together. But yet, the reason why I'm saying this is because some of these sort of like nuances that you speak to with these religious boys, they've never actually thought about that. They've never actually worked through it. Because when you're having a conversation, you have to have a pretext, you have to have a context, you have to have a subtext. There are fucking rules of engagement when you're speaking. You can't just jump in and go, right, this is the context. Well, what's the pretext of the context? Do you see where I'm coming from? And these are the things that a lot of these, you know, vampires are doing in all of these, you know, these institutions of failures. And that's another thing when you have the label of institution. I mean, for crying out loud, an institution. So it's the same as a university. It's the same as a financial institute. You know what I'm talking about? There's nothing more to be generating money, destroying souls, and capitalizing on people's, you know, weakness. And this is why you have things like penalties, the patent, the penalties, the monetization of your negative energy. It's quite ridiculous. This is the same thing that what's this called? Martin Luther was going on about when he went to Rome. Then he saw that, you know, you're converting, you're monetizing people's negative energy, saying that your family's somewhere in fucking what's it called? In Mundi, not in Mundi. Where do you call between heaven and earth?
Purgatory.
Purgatory.
Purgatory. Thank you very much. Oh, your family's stuck in. But to get them out of purgatory, you've got to pay us fucking 100 shillings. Oh, here it is. Here's your receipt. Bish, bash, bosh. It's funny, but you know, I know I've gone on a rant there, but when you start talking to these religious boys about this stuff, they have no idea. They've done no work. They just had an epiphany when they were in prison. Now they come out, oh my God, and people love that sort of shit. People love it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I've read
it makes people feel like they're better than they are. You know, when they like come out of jail and they're like, oh, I found God, and I'm a minister now, and you know, I got a minister, like I became a deacon in prison, and they get out of jail and now they can actually, that's the one thing that will actually help them. I was talking the other day to Nadia about this, about the guys that get out of prison, and they, you know, about the only thing you can do if you get an education when you're in prison is you can either become like one of those guys that goes into the like inner city and works with like children that are in drugs and, you know, are on the streets and stuff, and you can tell those, you know, you can help those guys get off the streets, get out of drugs, get out of gangs, and they'll listen to you because you're an ex-prison person, you know. And that's
that's the same thing why a lot of you know, when I have discussions with people, you can see that the pastor, when he comes out of prison, he's been privy to so many diabolical things that when he gets out into the community, this guy is actually dangerous. But the women in that community love this guy. They love him. Shows you the depravity of the majority of the. They don't want a cool guy that is getting on about his stuff. They want a guy that is engaged in. When you're in prison for a long period of time, as you guys know, I worked in a prison, so I know what I'm talking about. A lot of people, because in the prison world, there's an idea that goes around, depending on what part of the prison, depending on what type of prison. But something like, you know, homosexuality, pedophilia, it's easily diluted into an individual's mind quite quickly because you're in an environment that all of these things are A-OK. Now, once this thing has been introduced to someone, when they get out into the world, they might be having withdrawal symptoms of this is what they like. Then these individuals, these sort of like wolf in sheep's clothing, are put in a congregation, and the women are allowing these things because none of the men are around. No good man is able to say, listen, could you think about this guy's been into prison? He might have been doing this and that in prison. He might be a wronger. But these women, no, you're bad. God, and yet again, this goes against the idea that, you know, women are being, because if you think about it, if God is a man and all of this, or this idea, then that will mean if these women are saying to you, a good man, that this pastor is a bad man, but they're saying, no, he's not a bad man because he's been given this, you know, he's been given this special gift from God, another man. So it looks like if men are just in society to fuck up the whole society, these bad men, and these women are their co-conspirators. So how does that work?
Yeah, yeah. I find that to be the case now. I talked about it before in some of my earlier hangouts and some of my earlier videos as well. That there was when I first moved back to America in 2009, I didn't have a driver's license because I'd been in Japan for 6 years and had lost my driver's license because it expired. So it took me a while to get it back, and I rode the bus for like a year and a half. And while I was riding the bus in Denver, going to work and, you know, traveling around, I noticed all like thug wannabe gang members, and they were talking to women on the bus, and they were espousing that they were in jail and they had just got out of jail, and, you know, what they were in for and all this stuff. And these girls were lapping this shit up like it was fucking awesome. I never thought it would become popular to be out of jail. You know, that's when I was growing up, it was never cool to be an ex-prisoner. That was always like uncool. Now It's become like these girls want a thug, and they want somebody. It doesn't matter what you were in for. You could be in for anything, like jaywalking. They don't care. It could be a jaywalking ticket, but they're like, yeah, I was in prison, you know, or I was in jail for like, you know, 90 days. I just got out. Then they have this false bravado of you know, being like a thug.
Yeah, but this is what I've seen. It's like the reason why I believe this is all right. This is now is the narrative, because a lot of these women and a lot of men as well, they're emotionally unavailable. A woman, I remember when I was there, I was seeing a few women. I was speaking to one girl I was, you know, having sexual relationships with, and when, you know, I told her, well, there's another girl at my place. If you want to come over, you're more than happy to come over. Like, after I finish going through her, I'm going to go through you. But if you want to join in, let's have a party. She was fucking angry about it, but she wanted to come to my apartment anyway. But what the funny thing about it, she said to me, you're weird. I'd rather have you in prison than for you to be having multiple partners. And I thought to myself, this is quite insane. Do you see what I'm talking about? This is quite insane. It shows you the level that a lot of these guys that come out of prison, when I worked in a prison, these guys had 10, 20 girlfriends sending them pictures, letters, the whole kit and caboodle. And what I found strange about this is that a lot of the women, they'll tell their friends on the outside, oh, my guy's in prison. He's a bank robber. They love it. They fucking love the bravado. The celebrity that I've seen coming in and out of prison, and the people love it. Oh, he's dangerous. He's able. They see a man like that as someone that will do anything for the family. He's a provider. He will put his life on the line for us, and that's highly problematic.
Yeah, that's the new masculinity that they like. That's what a woman's idea of a man is now. They'll do anything to give me what I want. I want a Louis Vuitton bag. You know, I want a new car. I want to buy a house. If he has to steal for it, he'll do it.
And a lot of the old boys that I used to have a conversation with, like some of the old boys are career criminals. Or, you know, one guy, he used to make sometimes, and I believed him, maybe like 50 grand, you know, maybe 100 grand a couple of days. He used to basically pose as a banker. He used to go into the financial district near the Wolf, and he'll dress up in a suit or tie. He'll wear glasses, and he'll just go there and he'll pose like if he's working for some of these companies, and they have pretty lax security. So what this guy will do, he'll target a company, and he'll go into the offices. Oh yeah, I'm here for a job interview, and because he looked the part, he'll go there, and no one will answer him questions. So he's to, go into people's offices, 100 grand in a cupboard, 20 grand here, an iPhone, a mobile phone, anyway. So he was saying to me he doesn't understand the problem of these young guys. And I said, how do you mean? He goes, well, they're not family orientated. They're lazy bastards. They don't want to do anything for the family. But here is this guy in his 70s in prison for being a career criminal, robbing from other people, the financial districts. And he's saying, well, at least I'm a provider. Well, these young guys are not providers. All they want to do is get women pregnant. And he was right to a certain point. They're not responsible. But then what is he on about?
Exactly.
What is he on about?
You're just stealing from somebody else that's doing work, somebody else that worked for what they got, and you're not working for what you got. You're just taking what somebody else has. That's a feminist idea.
Well, how is he providing if he's in jail?
Well, what it was is he was telling to me that, so what will happen is he will just go out like on a Thursday, or what he said that sometimes he will go out and just one day's work, he'll give him like 50, 60,000. So what he'll do is just get back into the cab, go home, and tell the missus, right, we've had a good day. Here's 60 grand, bish bash bosh, we're all right for a couple of months. So I think what a lot of these career criminals, they did things the old way. So whatever they did, they've got cash, they've got, put cash in cars. If they've got a problem, they'll sell their Land Rover, they'll sell their fucking, I don't know, Maseratis. And their wives knew everything that was going on. So the majority of the wives, you're talking about women in their 70s, English women, whatever, like Cockney women or whatever you want to call it, they actually held the house together. So you have the niceties, they'll have a massive, like, 5-bedroom house somewhere in Essex. The men are in prison, but all the wives are there, making everything, that they have the house, they have the kitchen, they have the cars, and it was just a fair exchange that they did. It was quite incredible if you ever see it. It's quite incredible. You have a generation that was doing this. This was what was happening in the 80s. In the 80s, the 90s, this was what was going on. A lot of my friends and their parents, there were 5-6 bedroom houses. I mean, and it wasn't until I grew up that I realized my friends were telling me, my dad was a drug dealer. He was shipping cocaine from here to fucking, I don't know, Spain and all of that sort of stuff. But yet again, this is the idea of gynocentrism, where that generation is totally your right for the man to go out there, be a career criminal, bring the money back to the wife, and she handles the household, while the husband goes out, does crime, put his life on the line, and that's A-OK. That's problematic.
That's always been the problem, though. That's what a man's life is supposed to be. You're not a man unless you do that. You're expected to work on dangerous jobs, life-threatening jobs, to make money so that you can bring it home to your wife. That's basically what most men consider manly, which is why, like when you talk to some of the men in Nadia's hangouts, they'll say you're not a man. There's one guy that comes in there that says you're not a man because you don't have a girlfriend, or you don't have a wife, or you don't know what it is to be in a relationship. And he'll say shit like this, but you're saying shit like that because you think you're not a man unless you're in a relationship with a woman, which is already problematic. You're saying that unless you're a utility for a woman, you're not a man.
Well, what you've done there is you simplified it. But the thing about these people, I compare it to people that are highly religious, superstitious stuff. They're not going to listen to that form of reasoning because they believe whatever, they've been indoctrinated into it. They've been, baptized in this, in the sea of morality. So they don't see it as what you're saying is legitimate. But that's right. You dropped it to the lowest form. You're a utility. But they wouldn't see it as a utility. But in actual fact, that's what they are doing. This is what makes me laugh about the majority of people in our society. They argue when the evidence is preponderance. It's too much of a preponderance of evidence. And they go, show me the evidence. No, motherfucker, you are the evidence. Can't you see? Look into the mirror, dude.
Exactly. That's the thing I always have when I talk with people on a lot of hangouts. They're always like, "Show me the evidence. Give me the evidence." And then as soon as you like do all the work, basically you're the mind for them. You're doing all the work for them. So you give them the evidence, and they don't actually want the evidence. They just want to try to make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about. So they'll say, and then as soon as you give it to them, they'll just read a couple lines on it, and they'll say, "Oh, that's not peer reviewed." And basically, they don't care what you could give them anything. It could be from Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton, whatever. They'll still say like, "Oh, it's not peer reviewed," or "Oh, that's not right," because what they believe is what they believe, and they're never going to change that. They don't want to change it.
And I'm going to do something that is magical. These same people that say these things, if they claim that they're atheists, you can actually say, well, you've got more in common with a Christian believer than you do with not believing in God, because it's the same thing. You're showing them evidence, but they don't look at the evidence. They believe in the ideology. This is the same thing with a religious individual. So if an individual was an atheist that said, I'm an atheist, blah, 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 but this is not empirical, you can't show me the evidence, you're just saying, wait a minute, you are actually a religious man. You are a religious man. You believe in heaven and hell. You believe in the Virgin Mary. You believe in a whole kid and caboodle, because I'm showing you evidence, you don't want to take it, but now you're hypothecating something that doesn't exist, thereby definition, you are a religious man or a woman. They'll probably
you're believing in fake dogma. Dogma
exactly.
doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It's all dogma. That's why I'm always talking about like feminist dogma, because that's all it is. They come up with something in their head where women are under the foot of a man somehow, which has never happened in society ever. And they say that like men are lording over women somehow, yet all men have done their entire life is work and build shit, and for 100,000 years men have been building shit to where we are now, and now women want to step up and grab the keys and say, yeah, but I did, this is mine. I look at it like like say you have an F1 team, and the entire season your F1 driver has been racing. He's been winning the races. Every place you go, you're at the top of the leaderboard. You're about ready to win the best driver of the year. Your team is number one. And right at the last race, then a woman steps in that she's like the head of she's like the wife of the owner. And she's like, yeah, but I'm going to drive the last race, and then I'm going to take the trophy for the whole season. And I'm going to be the best. I'm going to get the trophy for the best driver. This is what women are doing. This is what feminism is. They want to take credit for what men have done, and they don't want to work for it themselves. If a woman is so important and a woman wants to prove that she's just as equal as a man, then go out and make a city. Go out and build streets, build roads, build houses, make an entire environment that started with women and ended with women, because that's what you have in society now. You have thousands of years of men building society, and now women are coming up and saying, like, we don't appreciate it. We want to take over it because we don't think you've done a good job. Well, apparently we have, because you're on our computers and on driving our cars and living in our houses and walking on our streets and taking the trash out to the corner. You call us when you're sick. You call us when you need a police officer. So apparently we're doing something right.
In the words of a Christian, amen. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen to that.
Yep. Tear down the walls. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was the topic of the false bravado. That's kind of like the new masculine men now, where they don't, like I've talked about it before in my things, where men don't really do anything manly anymore. They do actions that they consider to be manly, like watching football or soccer, as you limeys call it, and they kind of like do things instead of actually, raise their children and be real providers, if they're going to have a family. they don't really know how to be real providers anymore. Most of them that work are constantly like they don't even work on a job they like. They work on jobs they hate, and they're constantly complaining about it, you know. And I just find it like problematic for you end up with a lot of people like these people that have had something given to them their whole life, and now they think that they're owed something, kind of like Donald Trump, you know, where they just kind of like spout off like they're manly men, you know, they're gun-toting, you know, spitting, roping, shooting men, but really they aren't, you know.
Yeah, the expectations on the males, hetero, all that, not necessarily beneficial for people expected to go into it. Yeah.
Well, when you look at the role that males play in society now, I think it's becoming more and more clear that what used to be manly really isn't accepted anymore, you know. And I think it's becoming even more of a problem because men don't get the accolades for things they're doing for society, to help society. And because of that, you're having a lot of men that's where a lot of the MGTOW industry is coming from. A lot of the MRAs are coming from. And here in Japan, you're getting a lot of the grass eaters and herbivore men because they're just opting out of society. Because if society doesn't want to like appreciate what they do for it, then they can basically go to hell. They can get fucked, you know, and that's how a lot of men are now.
I think that's the general consensus, you know, on the view towards men these days.
Yeah, I find that's the biggest thing I have a problem with is we know it from the studies that we've done that 80% of the men and women that end up in jail, in prisons in the United States, have come from broken homes. We also know that 80% of strippers, which is kind of an odd thing, are also from broken homes. So not having that fatherly figure is a very problematic thing. But the problem is the way we're raised anymore without having a father. A lot of men just don't know what it is to be a man anymore, and they wouldn't even know how to raise their kids if they had it, you know, and their parents and their grandparents can't help them either because they don't know, you know, because our school systems have been set up to where now, like I've talked about before, like 78% of the teachers in the United States are female. And they don't learn in schools, they don't learn in college, they take their gender studies degrees, and they don't learn how to deal with boys. They don't even learn in psychology classes. I teach psychology, and they don't even learn in psychology how to deal with boys. So they've set up a generation now that's over 50 years strong now, where boys really have no place in society besides to work and be a utility. And once they become a husband, they don't even know what that means because their mom was broken up with their father maybe when they were 4 or 5 years old. So they don't have a base. You need, as a child, you need to have a home base to know like where you're coming from. If you're wanting to say like I'm going to have a relationship, I'm going to be married, I'm going to date a woman, and I'm going to fall in love, you kind of need to know what that means. And where most people are getting that from nowadays is movies, and they don't realize that that's not reality. They look at their parents and they don't realize that that's the reality. Your parents are going to break up. If you get with a woman, some other guy's going to end up raising your kids, and you'll be lucky if you stay with her for longer than 7 years. That's what we've set up now. And a lot of people have this misconception that that's not what's going to happen.
More like 7 months.
Yeah, they have this rosy idea that they're going to find the love of their life, and they're going to get married, and they're going to have 2 babies and a dog and a white picket fence and a house. That's in the fucking movies. That doesn't exist anymore. That has
how are those unicorn farts and purple swirl bits working for you?
Exactly. Lucky Charms.
My experience.
It never really. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, sorry, if you want to say something, please go ahead, Nadia.
I don't think it ever existed. Actually, like examinations of the history of marriage and how it looks like it's a lot more recent in some respects than people think. Things that are called that existed a while back. I mean, they were reserved for things like aristocracy, and also the idea of what it constituted was substantially different. I mean, it was like mostly kind of a hereditary property kind of propagation relationship, and also, I guess, exchange of reproductive partners, so you didn't have like inbreeding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but it's like we're here now. We're now in ground zero. So we've seen the spill out, we've seen the disasters, but what's going on is, like, from my personal experience, I did a lot of time in strip clubs, as you well know. So, I have a vantage point of a lot of these things. And what Shi-Nu was basically saying, or what I interject with what Shi-Nu was saying, when I was around a lot of these female strippers, a lot of them wanted to talk to a man like myself, a guy that would tell them off when they were crossing the line, a guy that wouldn't take any shit from them. And the problem was the majority of these guys that were given a provider of manhood, so they will come in there. A lot of the bankers will come in on the weekdays. They've just got a fucking bonus. Maybe they've got 50,000, 100 grand, and they're going to blow it on these strippers. What I found is that the strippers didn't have any respect for these men. They wanted a man's man. And what I'm finding is that these women wanted an idea of someone in the movie similar to the ideas or the archetypes of their fathers. So what it is that we're having a breakdown that is systemic, and it's been coming from a long time. And a lot of the females that are around, they do not know how to deal with this problem. For fuck's sakes, look at how the men are dealing with it. The men are not even dealing with it to any good standards anyway. But what I'm finding is that the bravado of what a man's supposed to be. So you might have a guy with an 8-pack, a 6-pack, he's chiseled, he's muscled. But this guy was raised by a female. So internally, this guy's a female. Internally, this guy's probably a feminist. So what it is he's just looking the part. When it comes to talking to these women that have psychological problems, he's got the same psychological problems as them. Because he's got muscles, he might have a lot of testosterone, but at the same time he's pumping the juice, and he has more in common with a woman that's got father issues than a guy like myself or whoever, a guy that understands these things periodically and historically. So this is a massive problem, and everyone just keeps sweeping this shit underneath the rug. But the rug is now turning into a fucking glacier. It's getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of women are, going around. It's like, I need a man that can handle me. It's not a fact of being more manly than the woman. It's about bringing her back down to reality. Bitch slapping the shit out of it.
And the thing about it, you might say bitch slapping the shit out of it, and a lot of people, he's been whatever. But
yes, I am being misogynistic.
Yeah. You're a misogynistic.
I'm being a man.
Yeah.
You don't like it.
That's the funny thing.
My ball sack.
Being a man now is misogynist. Like just being a manly man and being what a man really is, not what they perceive a man to be. Because what a feminist woman wants a man to be is basically a beta male, white knight, simp, provider. And
sorry, can't do it.
And they don't want a man, a real man that doesn't take your shit. That as soon as you try to talk back to him, he's like, "Shut up, bitch." As soon as you're a real man that don't take their shit and don't take their shit tests, don't listen to them when they tell you what the fuck to do, and you live your own life and you fucking say you liked me when you met me, so if you don't like me now, then get the fuck out. If you're that kind of man, well, then you're a misogynist and you're a woman hater.
Then I'm then I'm proud to be one. God damn it.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are they to dictate who I'm supposed to be and what I am? Fuck them and their little yeast-infected cunts.
Oh, language.
Hey, I did give a disclaimer, no filter.
Well, the thing about a lot of this stuff is that who was I saying this to the other day? I can't remember if I was saying it to Optimus Christ or to Magnus, but it's like when you speak. So the way Magnus speaks to women, or the way I will speak to women, it's very solid. It's very strong. There's no rigor room, right? But the thing about it is, when a female or someone that's a mangina, for a lack of a better word, will have a problem with this, I don't believe that the problem stems from me, myself, or what I'll say. The problem stems from the fact that there's a lot of men in society that are not validating these women or validating the state of play. So if I said something to a woman like, listen, if I'm going into a relationship with you, what are you bringing to the table? This is what I'm bringing. I can do this, I can do that. And if she goes, well, no one's ever said this to me before, right there and then shows me there's a problem with this individual and there's a problem with society, because a lot of men are not being men and validating and seeing what this woman has got to bring to offer. There is no equal exchange, and this is the law of give and take. The financial world tries to do this with offering acceptance and so on and so forth. There has to be something of equal value. This is what the world is promulgated on trust. But there's no more trust, because now the majority of women in society do not respect men. And I don't blame them for that, because a lot of these men are a bunch of P-U-S-S-Y, and they don't have no alibis for it. And it's sad. It's freaking sad, and you mean men are not.
You mean keys to the golden uterus Ferrari?
Basically,
isn't enough for you to work your entire life, for you to work 40 years and kill yourself for the keys to the golden uterus, and then once they marry you and they decide when and where you get to actually have sex with them, that's not enough for you?
Well, I don't know.
No, it's not, flat out. So basically, for the viewers, which you're going to get a shit ton of them just because I said cunt. So what they should do in supplementing Ego's statement there, when evaluating what a woman can bring to the table.
Oh, wow! I
knew I had one of those voices, but damn. So basically, when evaluating what a woman can bring to the table, if they cannot think of any other reason than their vagina, drop them like a ton of bricks. It's not even worth it, because more than likely you're gonna have to strap a 2x4 to your ass to keep from falling in anyway.
Yeah.
And doesn't that show when a woman hasn't got any sort of value apart from their vagina? That then means they're objectifying their bodies themselves. So this goes against the whole thing of a man objectifying their bodies. If I was to say to you, look, so apart from your good looks, what else do you have going for yourself? And you were to say your vagina, then that shows I never said, is your vagina a value to me. I said, apart from your good looks, you can't think of anything, and you automatically go to your vagina. In that thought process itself is where the problem lies. Women see themselves as a commodity, and their vagina. This is why they
I've
call
talked about that for a long time. Like if you listen to feminist women talk, they'll talk about how women are portrayed in society and how women are always expected to do this and do that for men and all this. It's not us. If you look at it, it's all these stupid fucking magazines they read. You know, they read like Cosmopolitan and all these shit, and they always have those fucking things in there, what to do to please your man, and, you know, how to do your makeup and how to dress and all this shit. They love to read that shit, and most men don't give a fuck about that, you know? And that's the problem. They actually think it's all projection. They have to live up to a certain standard that other women have put upon them, and most men don't care. You know?
Look, most men, for the most part, most men are a bunch of punks.
Yeah.
For me, whenever I talk to women, and you know, when it comes to women, I'm in the inner sanctum. I'm the one calling the shots in the inner sanctum. And when I ask them questions, you women put on makeup not to attract other men, but because you're in direct competition with other women, and they say yes, we are. Yep. It's got nothing to do with a man. The man is a woman will go out with a guy. So if you're in a club situation, the woman will get another guy just to rub it in their friend's face, have sex with a guy. The next day, they weren't really into the guy, but they just want to get brownie points to say, well, I got a guy last night, you didn't, I'm better than you. And men are falling for this all the fucking time. And a lot of these guys just want to be loved. They want to be hugged. They want to look after someone. And, you know, it's 2016, dude. They can look after themselves. They're not doing a very good job, but they can look after themselves. Let them look after themselves. What's the problem? If you're a feminist, you believe that all men are dogs, no problem, darling. Woof, 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 woof. No problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
exactly.
What they don't understand is that, you know, women say all men are dogs, but what they don't understand is that dogs are loyal as fuck if you treat them right.
Yep.
Well, all men are dogs, but yet you still sleep with a dog? Then you get...
So what does that make you? A bitch.
Exactly. Co-conspirators, the lot of them. And I have no problem with this. The only thing I'll have is when individuals such as some women or majority of manginas say, well, you are using us. You were using us. I used to say this when I was 15, 16. I used to ask women, when was the last time you bought a femidom? What's a femidom, they say? A female condom? Oh, no, it's a man's responsibility. I'm like, right, there you go again. Because if you get pregnant, if something was to happen, you put the problem on the other party. But you are having sex with me. You are laying down. You say you want this. You've been begging me for months. And all of a sudden, you don't want to take responsibility. This is insane.
Yeah, that's the way it's always been with women, though.
And when Nadia spoke about justice earlier on, come on, Nadia. There's no such thing as justice when someone hasn't got a moral fiber in their body. Feminism can't be just. Because just is nothing more than just, which is, if I'm not wrong, means God, or, you know, fashed God and all of this sort of stuff. And in England, justice was nothing more to keep society going forth, because in England they started preserving food. They used to do it with salt. Salt was important. They started, preserving the food by fish and things like that with ice. So you have the Ministry of Just Ice or Ministry of Justice. But when you come to women, there is no justice when women are involved, because it's skewed. They do preserve society by having babies, but that's not a good bit of justice. That just means that if you don't have a golden uterus, you can go and fuck yourself. Fair enough. Fair enough. We have no problem with that. But the majority of women want to have sex with real men, if there is such a thing. And they'll to the point where half a man is better than no man for most women. Yeah. Am I right on this? A guy coming out of prison, there's got a track record of doing all sorts of stuff. This guy is a miscreant to a certain point. But if a woman engages with a man like this, that will show you, why don't you want a whole man? Why don't you want a man that is good? Why don't you want a man that is loyal? Why don't you want a man that has never been fucked up in his life? No, they want half a man. They want, the majority of these women are sometimes lesbians or something. It's weird.
Yeah.
They want a man that is psychologically fucked up, so they can argue with the guy, so they can scratch each other's eyes out, so they can, you know, share each other's undergarments or something. I mean, God, that's weird. That's weird. That's weird. I don't share my boxers with any other man, let alone my undergarments with a woman. But that's weird. Come on, guys, we're going to have to engage in this combo.
The, what is it? I guess you're describing it as sort of this, or the quote-unquote gender roles and such as a outcome of, you know, social and historical processes, right? And there's analysis.
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying, Nadia.
Yeah, you're robotic, Nadia.
I'll try to switch to my internal mic, but I'll probably pick up a lot of noise.
Oh, no, because the headset is fine, but it's just like...
Okay. Yeah, I would say well, I guess you're talking about, like, societal norms for gender roles and such are, well, being the outcome of social and historical processes, and there's a fair amount of analysis of that goes on. I think, well, Butler actually speaks to it a fair amount in Gender Trouble, and what is it, Foucault, Irigaray, and Lacan, I think, are three of her sources and such on that. You may, I don't know, you might like Foucault most of all, though. Seems to have a pretty large interest in homosexuality as opposed to, well, maybe the, I guess, broader context of it per se. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, the thing about it is, right, majority of the time you've got to speak in generalities, but the generalities have the facts of individuals' lives to go upon. Because if you now start speaking in specifics, the individual feels that they're under attack. They'll think, oh, you're objectifying me. Well, this is a subjective point. I mean, this is a subjective point of view. I mean, no, sorry, they'll say, oh, you're subjectively objectifying me. Because if you speak in specifics, majority of females, the majority of people that are quite sensitive, feel that you're attacking them. So you have to speak in generalities. But it's not about going back to the times of, I don't know, some of these philosophers to say, oh, their works, their works. It's right here in our face. We don't have to go back 50 years, 100 years. What's going on now? We can explain how it got here. But what's going on is it's serious. And what's happening is most people don't want to see the truth. They want to live in la-la land. I don't mind you living in la-la land. But if I'm going to have a communication with you in our society and you're living in la-la land, we're going to have serious problems. Because I might try to say, right, what's the solution? But someone living in la-la land, oh, there can't be a solution because you're a man. All right, okay. Please forgive me that I'm a man, but what's the solution? How can we sort things out? Well, you're mansplaining things to me, and we can't get to a solution because you're a man and you're always objectifying me. Oh my God! You see, it's a merry-go-round, constant.
Hashtag kill all men.
Pardon? So say that again.
Hashtag kill all men.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the big trend. That's the big trend in the feminism world. You know, all the crazy Nazi fucking feminists out there putting the hashtag kill all men. if you get on Twitter and you type that into the search thing, you'll find out like how many women have thrown that up. It's
Falcon Punch women. I mean, seriously,
it's been retweeted by like hundreds of thousands of women.
How do they expect to kill us when they're so far from the kitchen knives?
Yeah. Well, what I would really like to do is there is actually a scientist that talked about this that I talked about before, that he said if men stopped working, all men in the world stopped working for 1 week, that we would be 3 years cleaning up the mess. You know, I would love to see.
Only 3? Damn.
Yeah. I would love to see what would happen if men just finally said, okay, fuck you, take care of society then, and let women have it, and say, like, go ahead, fucking do everything, build the streets, build the roads, build the bridges, you know,
well,
take care of the fucking elevators, you know, do all the bullshit. You know, if a house is on fire, go drive the truck, you know.
Yeah, there's actually an easy way to achieve that. For the MGTOW, you tell them society will collapse. They're all for it. You tell the anginas and the beta males, this will guarantee you to get laid. They'll all be for it.
Yeah.
You basically, the male feminist is, you're now finally empowering women, which will get your pee-pee touched, and they'll be all for it. You know, stuff like that. And then at that point, just get everybody on the same page, just the same objective. You know, you're just giving different explanations. Then for a week, no man will work. And then we can watch for 3 years as, you know, a woman is like, how could this happen? Well, you caused it.
Dude, look, listen. My close friend Gianni is Italian, and he will talking over Christmas or whatever, and he said over in Italy, where his mum and dad, you know, retired to, that there was a problem with the garbage disposal, that the local mafia run the garbage disposal, and what happened was the local mafia, the government weren't singing their tunes, so what they did is they stopped the garbage disposal. He said this thing happened for a year, and it was a mayhem. The rats were looking as big as cats and dogs. The small city in Italy, or this small town in Italy, was just dreadful. So please, I've heard from a friend of mine that this already happened in Italy. We don't want this happening to large cities, dude.
Well, why? We already have rats as big as, you know, well, people. They're called feminists.
Oh, God.
Well, the thing is men think that, or women think that we've built like everything, and that everything's been built, that nothing else needs to be built, so they can get rid of men now.
What they don't understand is that men innovated those projects to make life more easier on women, to reduce their stress level in hopes of a more loving and caring family. Take the 1950s, for example. Okay, when the washer and dryer, the automatic washer and dryer was invented. I don't know what year that was, but fuck it, we're going to use that example anyway.
Yeah.
So when it was invented, what happened? It was the woman's responsibility to do the clothes. Well, guy looks at her and feels sorry that she has to spend so much time out of the day hand washing clothes. So some guy gets the bright idea, hey, let's go ahead and invent this, make life easier for the women. Okay, it's invented. Now every household has one. And now they freed up, let's say, around about 3-4 hours a day in time. So that's 3-4 hours a day they can focus on other stuff. Well, the men see this, and it's like, hey, you know what? We can make their lives so much easier and more. So they start innovating projects that makes life a whole lot easier for women. And then go to today. All this stuff created by men that is utilized by women, and to be honest, men, we put ourselves in this position to where, honestly, if they didn't have free time, then, you know, they wouldn't have time for the fucking feminist movement and shit like that. It's the men that innovated the projects that allowed women to be what they are today.
Well, and it would be nice of someone to say it's because of you. I mean, it's because of innovation that makes me able to speak to different individuals all over the world. I'm truly appreciative of this. As a man, as a guy dangling a penis between his legs, I am truly appreciative, because when I was in primary school, I did not take time to appreciate some of my pen pals that lived all around the world. I couldn't be bothered when I was 7 or 8 to write a long letter to my pen pal. But now I feel that my pen pals are growing by leaps and bounds. Thank you to the technology of men. Thank you. But for a woman or a feminist that says, we're going to use this innovation to debase men and call them bastards, well, this shows you they're not appreciative. This is contradictory. And I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a strong man. I'm good at fighting. Very good. I was trained by Mossad. I'm a good fighter. But I can say, thank you very much. But if a woman can't do this, this is problematic. This shows you that this is nothing more than a stowaway. We have a stowaway amongst us. We have this thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I think is the worst part about society now, is that we have these women that we've made things in their life with the microwave and the refrigerator. They don't have to carry a big block of ice up the stairs anymore and give it to the woman. You know, we've made all these things in their life that make their life really easy, where being a wife is very simple. You just go down to the local grocery store, you get stuff that's already in a box, and you heat it up and shove it in front of your man's face, you know. And what they're doing in life is they're actually getting lazier and lazier, and as men are moving further away of what a man is supposed to be, women are doing the same. They're moving further away from what a woman was. And now we're supposed to, like, you know, you're not a man unless you help her do the dishes, unless you help her do the laundry, unless you do a bunch of the cooking. You know, they're basically trying to do less.
Sure, just let me stop my furious masturbation session just to help out with the dishes. Well, why are you masturbating? You got a girlfriend, right? What, you think because I'm in a relationship I stop masturbating? Not like I'm getting any.
Yeah. Even if you do, it's not worth the trouble.
Oh, listen. Optimus Christ, why do you always have to soil your filthy mouth?
Thank you. At least someone recognizes it's nice and filthy.
You're welcome, kind sir. You're welcome. But yeah, I mean, it's getting really sad. I remember going out to a club not too long ago, and we were just standing to get our jackets, and this woman just came up to me. There was something going on, and she said to me, it's a shame how men are not how they used to be. They just can't approach women like they used to be. She felt really sorry for men. And I said, yeah, it's terrible, you know, a lot of these guys. But this woman, she was okay. She was okay looking, but she wasn't, you know, attractive enough for me. If she was more attractive, I would have, yeah, all right, I see you're coming up to me, you want to get involved, bish, bash, bosh. But, it was sad that I didn't go for it, because at the end of the day, I've got options. I would if I want to, I wouldn't if I don't. But the fact of even this woman, I think she was maybe about 35, but she was able to see what's going on, because a lot of these women are having to become spinsters by no fault of their own, you see. And a lot of these women want to get involved. I know a lot of women going on Tinder, dating apps, and that's not working for them, because if you're in a relationship, you can't offer. Most of these women are filthy pigs. You go to their apartments, they don't really keep their self in good nick. They're not, and you think to yourself, all of the things that I as a man hold valuable, your hygiene, how you are, the way you portray yourself. If I'm the top of the tree and you're not at the top of the tree, why the hell would I want to be with you? But these women think just it fucking qualifies them, dude. No, because I tell you what, as a man, my feminine side is, look, when they speak about women always moving up, that's what I do. Listen, The last relationship I had, she was better than, and I've had great relationships. I always move up. Always move up. Because I see a lot of these, I see a lot of the times with women where you get involved with them, they've already been touched by the filth of feminism. They've been touched by the filth of feminism.
And then they say misogyny when we use their own tactics against them.
Well, you see, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, yes, you're quite right.
I'm sorry, but you look to trade up every fucking 3 months. Well, guess what? We do the same fucking thing, and you say, "Oh, misogynistic," you're man trash, you scum, kill all men. No, we're just adapting to our environment. Not our fault. You're now an outsider.
And you've got to, and the thing about it, as well as I know, that women like this. They like a man that is up himself. They like a man that doesn't. This is why you're getting bothered all the time. This is why they'll see you. They want your attention. You're that unicorn. You're that pixie dust. You're that. You're the Milky Way, and they want to get.
I'm fucking addictive.
Yep, you can't just eat one.
No. And the thing about it is, like, when you tell women, I do it all the time, where women want to get involved, I say, "Darling, have you ever tried heroin?" They go, "No." To me, I am that heroin. And they thought I was joking, but it was serious. And what I'm just trying to say is the contradictions of the majority of people. And I was saying, Shi-Nu, to Magnus and Optimus Christ a few days ago, that what I've seen that is quite strange is the fact that the women in our society that claim to be feminists, they actually just want a man to take them and, and show them the revenants. They just want to, this is what all the attention seeking is all about. And I'm saying the men in our society, they're not equalizing these women. Because I found that when we've agreed to this as well, Shi-Nu, that a lot of women, they'll get into an argument when you're in a relationship. They'll get into an argument with you, and as soon as you fling them into the bedroom, and lash them with your rod of justice, like Moses did, the rod and the staff. When you throw it, they become equalized. They're happy. There's a spring in their steps. They feel that you've taken charge. And the problem is, a lot of these men now, they don't know how to take charge. They're petrified. So what is that going to do? That's going to mean that you're going to have more and more women, and have 20 women to one guy, just like Mad Max or one of the, I mean, is that a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. But
unless they're all feminists. And then you have to look forward to the time where all their biological clocks synchronize. So once a month, you're stranded in your room, locked with an iron door, with claw scratches of them trying to get in.
Oh God, that's the downside. I tell a lot of my female friends that when is their time of the month, don't contact me, because they start acting weird, and they know they're acting weird. But just because you're acting weird doesn't change the fact that you're disturbing my life. In this act, but I mean, we're digressing. We should stay. We should hang on to this conversation. So,
But I love derailing it.
It gets off the rails and then goes on for like an hour and a half, and I just let you guys talk.
But it's awesome. It's we're bringing real life situations into a conversation to make people understand. Hey, look. Man up doesn't mean man up anymore. It's man up equals treat women like we did 300-400 years ago.
But the funny thing about it is, like, what Shi-Nu was saying with Donald Trump and the what's it called, what term did you use, the bravado,
false bravado of the masculine man.
Donald Trump gets pedicures, he gets manicures, he has that poof on his hair. This is nothing.
Yeah, I think he's as far away from a man as you can get.
He totally is. He's basically a pretty boy.
Oh yeah.
Donald Trump is a pretty boy.
Yeah, but he's like the ugliest pretty boy there is.
Well, say that to his wife.
Yeah. Well, you know she's only with him for his money, of course.
Of course. I think that's a fair trade-off. I mean,
if he lived in like an RV or like a little trailer park home or some shit like that and worked at like a pizzeria or something like that, I guarantee you that girl wouldn't be with him.
Well, what I've found is that a lot of the guys that have the cash, their women always go for the milkman. So they've got some guy that just comes that probably lives in a trailer, and like she'll sneak out to see him. She's probably got security 24/7 because Donald Boyd Trump knows that it might be on top. I found in my personal life that a lot of the women that have got guys with money, whatever, they're just there basically for the check, but they do have it on the side, you see.
Oh, and yeah. A lot of times it's a security guy, too. That's the thing.
Oh, definitely.
You'll hire some security guy, and that's the guy fucking your wife. And now you're raising his kids.
Oh, definitely. It's the same when, you have a well-to-do family and the husband is having sex with a nanny. I mean, it's just so obvious, dude. It's just so... I mean, I don't know why people don't see that coming. Yeah. It plays time and time and time again. So the whole thing with feminists, I mean, good for them, but Donald Trump, he's not a man's man, but, whatever.
Yeah. The next thing I guess we'll talk about is the problem that I have with circumcision and the lack of the need to change the U.S. System, from the misandric style that we have now, where it's not a problem, and that women think that male circumcision is fine, and that it's also kind of the ultimate. I feel it's the ultimate form of misandry, just because most fathers get their sons circumcised because they'll think it's better for him later if he gets married. So they're only cutting off their son's penis for aesthetic reasons so that it looks nice for a woman, which is the ultimate sacrifice and ultimate misandry.
Yeah, that's truth, considering that that when you cut off the foreskin or circumcise, most of the nerve endings are in that foreskin. So after that, it heals up. It's essentially scar tissue, which dulls the sensations after, having sex. Or as I like to say, pal right in the kisser. So at that point, you're spending half an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to get off, and the woman misconstrues it as entirely pleasing her because of that self-entitlement shit. So, you're trying to get off, you're like, man, what the fuck? And so it's taken 2.5 hours, and she's already gotten off like 14 times, and then you end up having to fake it because you can't get any friction anymore.
Well, it seems that you're speaking the story of my life, and it's like this conversation about circumcision, as I said just before we went live, I didn't realize it until I just thought, fuck, geez, this might explain a lot of the things that I've gone through. And the second part is, like, a lot of women, when they speak about, they want a man that's basically a fucking, doing was it a triathlon? Anyway, I can't remember the word properly, but
triathlon.
Right, a man that can last for 2-3 hours. In my personal experience, most of these women can't even go past 15 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, me personally, the minimum amount of time that I do is about an hour and a half. And that's because I'm actually trying to focus on my pleasure. Fuck her pleasure. I know she's getting off because it's just a time lapsing.
Yes, so it goes back. I don't know if you're circumcised as well, but if that's the case, then it's because even even the experiences I had with, you know, women, what's the word? Is it what's it called? What's the scientific word for a blowjob? I always get it wrong. It's not fellatio. It's the other one.
Oral.
No, but there's a scientific word for it.
It's fellatio.
Is it? No, I thought it. Oh yeah, fellatio.
It's fellatio.
Cunnilingus. Yeah. Sorry, fellatio. So it's problematic because you're just there and you're just looking at the woman, thinking, "Are you doing this right?" Because you know you can be there for a year and
and then afterwards they brag to their girlfriends about, oh, he can last 2-3 hours in bed. Bitch, you think that was by his choice? Shit, he has other things to do. He wants to get off, get out, and do whatever he needs to do to, you know, be productive.
Right, and that would make sense. That, you know, the problem is that the circumcision, or it could be a variable circumcision plus the mental mind. You know, depending on how you are and how you think. This makes you feel like, in my personal life, it almost makes me. A lot of the female women that I've have relationships with, they think I'm a cyborg. They think I'm this, you know, I'm just a machine. But if it's true that the circumcision has a lot to do with it, then it's no fault of my own. My parents made a decision for me, and now I'm having to suffer the brunt of it. Maybe this is why, I have multiple partners. So when a feminist will say, "Oh, circumcision doesn't affect men," well, I'm being honest with, you know, the world right now. It could have affected me, and I'm being honest. And this is sad. Just what I'm talking about. This is quite sad.
And that's, and they think that, you know, oh, everything's great. Like even the mangina is like, yeah, I can go for 2 hours. For what purpose?
Especially
literally. I mean, you will never see another YouTube video out there about men complaining that they last 2, 3, 4 hours when they want to get off in 5 minutes and be done with it because, you know, you have that sense of entitlement.
Yes, and you know, this is another form of misandry. Totally. There's another form where, you know, and this is why when you meet some women, they think they're fantastic in bed. You know, it never ceases to amaze me. You meet a woman and she goes, I was the best you've ever had. Well, no, you weren't. You're mediocre. It's that. And they get upset because they've never heard this. Oh, why are you saying this to me for? Because it's true. Because you're not doing shit, love. And I think, what the fuck? No one said this to me before. I said, because no one's really cared about me. No one's really cared to be honest enough to say, listen, my circumcision is put me at a level of a demigod, and your below par sexual escapades is nothing.
Yeah, I've had the same thing. That's one of the reasons why I've had. I always tell the girls that I'm with that that's a big problem that I have. When I was 2.5, I was burned. 50% of my body from my waist down. I was put in a hot bathtub, and I got third-degree burns. And I'm circumcised. So when I have sex with a woman, it takes me long time to come, you know. And in some cases, I can't come. I've actually got to the point, because of the way women act and the way women are. I've actually pretended to come. I'm probably one of the few men that I know of that actually does fake come, just because I want to be done with it. I'm over it, you know.
Well,
it gets tired to me.
Look, Shi-Nu, I tell you what, you was one optimist. And the thing about it is, if we can go back in time, and if I could be like a fly on the wall, I would have said, Shi-Nu, tell the woman she's shit, that you're bored, that you've got other things to do with your time.
I have. There's been times where I just rolled over and I was like, I'm done. You know, I've had a bunch of ones like that.
There was one.
I like women having. Sorry to cut you. I like it when women, the shoes on the other foot. You make them have a complex about themselves.
Yeah, and you know, it's like it's gotten to a point to where I don't desire sex, to a point to where I will tell them, like, I get offers, for like dates or whatnot, and they make it clear that they're expecting a little something something afterwards. And I make it clear, look, you better stimulate me intellectually, because if not, I sure as hell ain't going to stimulate you sexually. Because I know I'm not going to get off.
High five, because what's going on there is you're qualifying. You see, what it is the world will be a better place. A lot of women just want honesty. They say they want honesty, but they actually want brutal honesty, because then we can stay at the same level. Now, she might feel upset to the fact that you say, listen, if I'm going to have sexual intercourse with you, you've got to come. You just can't lay there like a sack of spuds, sack of potatoes to the Yanks, sack of spuds, and just not do anything. We've got to engage in this act. If you can't engage with me properly and do something that no other woman's done before, then you've got to, you've got to give me some cash. Maybe you've got to buy me a car. Maybe you've got to take me on a holiday to make me feel good about myself after I've been with you, and you didn't come at me. You didn't give me something equals to what I expected. And this is an honest conversation. And there's nothing wrong with having an honest conversation. The woman might feel, oh my God, I'm nervous. But wait a minute, this should be a time for you to seize the opportunity and be better than you were before. Engage with a man that has, because he's been circumcised. He might, for him to have sex with you, he might take 2 hours, it might take 3 hours. You might have to do a bit of tantric sex. You might have to work at you and him enjoying the moments. There's nothing wrong with this. But yet again, a lot of women, they're not privy to this idea. And they don't want to be privy to this idea because they've had an easy time. No woman can tell me she's had a harder time than me as a man. Not if she was born after after the 60s, dude. This is an impossibility. This is an impossibility. We don't live in a rape culture because no one. If we live in a rape culture, this will suggest that everybody in our culture, in the Western culture, tolerates rape. That rape is okay. Rape is like you go to a restaurant. Rape is like a fucking glass of Chardonnay. It's just part of the fucking menu. This is bullshit.
Oh, okay. Her, what is it? Hermione. Hermine. Okay. She's asking, who is having all this shitty sex? I seriously feel sorry for men. The point is, we don't want pity. That's the thing, and we're not looking for pity. We're stating facts. I'm sorry. It takes me 2-3 hours to get off, and that's if I'm in the mood.
Yeah, that's the big thing. A lot of women think that men are we're like dogs. We're just always in the mood, and a lot of times guys aren't. No. And especially when you're circumcised, it takes a lot to get guys off. And when you get older, it's even harder to get yourself hard from a woman. You really just don't care.
See, people like myself and Ego, we're not worried about if the woman's going to get off. We already know it's a guaranteed thing. Look, just
listen. Optimus Prime. When I started getting involved with women, I studied women's anatomies, the different sort of orgasms they'll have. I studied this. I became somewhat of a master. Was squirting all sorts of things, because I grew up watching James Bond. Sean Connery as James Bond was my de facto father. A lot, I took pride in, letting me, because I had a lot of female friends. They told me a lot of these things. So you're right. We know these women are going to have a great time. The problem is these women are not doing it back in kind. They take this, the amount of women that I've heard, oh my God, you're not like an average guy. All right, so I'm above average. So why don't you treat me like the king that no one else is? Because they're unable to.
The self-entitlement factor.
Yeah.
They think they're entitled to it instead of, positive reinforcement, which is, validation for men, stuff like that, the male vulnerability need and all that good stuff. but they feel entitled to it, like they deserve it because they earned it just by being a woman and just by being there with her vagina, you know. I'm drinking a lot.
Wait a minute, are you drunk already? I thought this, I mean, you're speaking, you know, good stuff right now. It's rather than
Ego's only had a half a bottle of whiskey.
Actually, dealing with the previous topics, I've already done and cleared a quart and a half, and I have about 3 left to go.
God almighty, dude. Listen, you've got to survive so that one day we can all meet up in the real world.
What's that?
That post that I put up on Sweden?
No.
Sweden.
I just put it up a few minutes ago, but
No, all I got is dot dot. Or like a line. Like
okay. So what's happening in Sweden is Parliament right now is let me just get the link from YouTube. They are discussing whether or not men can opt out from parenting. So let's say a woman wants to have the kid and a guy doesn't. They're basically saying he can give up all his parental rights for the as long as he does it within 18 weeks, the time where she could have an abortion. And if he does that, then he's not financially responsible or emotionally or anything otherwise.
That'd be nice if they did that.
That is a good step in the right direction. However, it's not going to fix it right then and there. 18 weeks? No. Yeah. See, what they need to do is up to 2 months after the child's born, because you have to have the DNA test to prove it's even yours. What they should do is mandatory DNA testing, regardless or not, if however much percent that is that they're sure about that it's the father's. So, you know, it should be a mandatory DNA testing to hold everyone accountable.
And on top of that, if a woman files falsities to say, so if the DNA comes back to say that the child is not yours and she was trying to assert that the child is yours, well, she should get penalized for that. And I mean real penalized. Because, you see, society is not holding a certain sex or demographic, they're not holding them accountable. And because when you hold a group of people accountable, they're going to know that they shouldn't be doing all of these, you know, all of this naughty business, all of this sort of, you know, buggery and fuckery to people. So
yeah, it's the same thing we got going on here with YouTube. You know, with all these people that are running around making false, you know, claims on people's YouTube sites, and you can only do 3, you know, you can only fight 3 at a time, and then you're going to have like 6 months on your website where they're fucking it up. And when they find out that the claim that those people made was false, they got all your money, they got all that stuff from you. They actually were able to take all your views and they get them all on their channel. And then they give you back your stuff. And the people that made those false claims don't get anything. They don't get any problem. And that's the same thing we got going on with women, is they can do anything they want in society and they get very few problems from it.
I like to play devil's advocate for a minute about the whole abortion thing. Now, if a man decides he wants to have parental rights after 18 months, would the woman then be able to ask for child support?
Good question.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no, actually, if you sign away your parental rights after 18 months, you can't come back.
Well, that's unfair.
You can't, but in the States, you still have to provide child support. It's mandatory.
Oh, I agree with that.
In the States, you can get away with not doing it, provided you go through a doctor to be a donor or something. But if they could prove in court that you called yourself the father even once, like a birthday card or something, then they can get you for child support.
But what about the whole aspect of, even if it's an 18-week period or whatever, that the man wants to be in the child's life but have nothing to do with the woman? So if you give up all of your rights as a parent, that goes out. A lot of men just don't want to. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how heart-wrenching it is for a man not to be with his children. It's diabolical.
Yeah, I've talked about it before.
When women use the kids as a weapon against the man to control him,
Well, in some cases, it's the only thing they have left. You know, once a man has left them and moved on, the only kind of knife they got to stick in his back and twist is the fact that they have your kids, and that they can at their will allow you to see them or not see them whenever they feel like it.
And then the result in that of what men go through after that fact is the very reason why I made the video Male Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, great video, as I've said already. But it's sad. All of this, what they're doing in Sweden. I mean, was it Sweden? I don't know if any of you guys have been to Sweden. I have, once, and I've been to, Amsterdam and Norway. I mean, aesthetically, it's a beautiful place. That the people, very lovely. The houses, the way they commune. You can when I was there, you can open your door. No one's going to come in and rob it, and all of this sort of stuff. But it's like they're moving so far ahead, and they're trying to sort things out. But they're not really looking there. Listen, if you have an idea that there is some sort of a rape culture, which would, is just an impossibility because no one accepts such a thing. If you have an idea there's a rape culture, then when you do your set the law and the precedents, you're not looking at the fact that when someone says they've been, molested or whatever, when they come with a falsity, when they come with a false claim, and they knew that they come up with a false claim, this individual should be reprimanded so that it sets a precedent in society that we do not tolerate these stuff. So when you have a place like Sweden, it will look like, oh yeah, they're forward-thinking people, but in actuality, they're not looking at the full spectrum of the issue. Most men will want to have a relationship with their children. No one wants to go around thinking, oh my God, I've got a child out there. For 10 years, I haven't been in the child's life. For 10 years, I abandoned my responsibility. For 10 years, I've been made to feel like nothing because of the system of which I give taxes to, but they do not recognize me as a human being. This is terrible.
Okay, well, there's two things here, and howdy, y'all.
Hey,
but there's two things. There's two things here I would like to address. Skipping over the parenting thing, I'd like to point out that I think it's ironic. Feminists have appropriated rape culture. I think that's funny because they talk about constantly appropriation and all that stuff. Stop appropriating our culture. Rape culture refers to American prison culture, in which there is a rape culture, in which it's almost expected. It's one of the threats that is used. Like, oh my God, don't go to prison. It's one of the jokes that's constantly thrown around. Don't drop the soap.
Don't drop the soap.
It's such a rape culture that more men are raped in America in prisons than women are raped in America everywhere else, including prisons. All other places in America combined. Well, fewer women get raped than men just in prison. And that's not counting the men raped by women out in the free, forced to penetrate. That's not counting the men who are raped out in the free, too. But no one talks about it because no one gives a damn. Right? And then the second thing about paternity and fathers, we've been reduced to just a check. On the face of it, it's blatantly dehumanizing. On the face of it, it's blatantly demoralizing. On the face of it, it is something that no man, if he is rational, thinking with anything other than his penis, would get involved in. And I think that's a damn shame for society, to discourage marriage and parenting to such an extent that only someone who is thinking with their privates would engage in it.
Well, I think that's one of the things that they have over men, is they know that a lot of men, if a man is playing hard to get, they actually think like we can just wave the pussy around in his face and he'll do whatever we tell him. And if we give it up to him once, we can string him along and then he'll do whatever we say. And that's just the way it is.
It's always a joke. It's always like a little ongoing joke with me because I've had women make the comment that, oh, you're playing hard to get. No, honey, I'm playing impossible to get. Now step on.
See, and that's a problem in itself right there because, I know a couple of guys that have been sexually molested, sexually harassed. The next video I'm doing next week is a conversation with a friend of mine. I've known him for years, and he was set upon by a female. And I used to say these things to a lot of my compadres when we were younger, and they thought it was funny. I said to them, do not take this as a joke, because if the shoe was on the other foot, you would be in big trouble, big time. And it's the whole idea of just willy-nilly, just because I've got a, you know, breast and a vagina, I can do whatever. And the thing about it is, it's just not these women at fault, it's the men that are participating. And M said something that was quite right. If you're just thinking with your penis, this is what will happen. A lot of men need to grow a fucking backbone and be more, they need to qualify their lives and qualify the lives of these women that they're attracted. And to say, no, I'm not going to have sex with you. Behave yourself, prove to me that you're worthy. And there should be nothing wrong with this, because if feminism was the idea or the premise of equality, which we know it's not, there should be nothing wrong with a man saying, listen, what are you bringing to the table? I'm having a party, what gifts are you bringing? Because that's the right thing to do.
And I found myself fortunate in that area where women wouldn't even think about trying to sexually molest me, because I'm 6'6" and I'm built like, well, Optimus. So I can take comfort in the fact that if they ever tried, I can toss them around like a rag doll until they can no longer get up.
Well, steady on here with your, I mean.
Hey, look, it finally hit me. The floodgates are now open. Okay.
Yeah. You know that's what they really want, anyways. No matter what a woman says.
Oh no! What I mean, toss them
and
around
all that stuff, and then they get in the bedroom, and they just want some man that's gonna plow them.
Well, what I mean by toss them around like a rag doll, I mean literally throw them to the ground if they try to assault me in any way, to where they can't get up. I don't mean sexually at all. If I tell them no and they decide to pursue that, physical altercations are going to happen, period.
Optimus. Listen. Just steady on, Optimus. Just steady on. Just steady on. All right, just steady on.
Yeah, steady on.
Wait, well, pardon me for joining in late, but what was the topic?
The two topics that we had is, the first one was the false bravado that is the new masculine man, you know, kind of like the Donald Trump thing, where guys puff their chest and say all these masculine things that they act like they're tough, but they're really not. They're just like feminine men, you know. And then the next one was the kind of lack of concern for the fact that men are circumcised in society. Nobody seems to care, you know?
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Okay, so I'll drop just my cursory thoughts on this. The first one was about
the false bravado.
Okay, that's just been men for a long time. It's been men for a long time. Typically, what it is, you'll see higher status younger men engaging in such false bravado. Bravado is just false masculinity, false bravery. You'll see that a lot. Like, think back to like guys dressed up in like puffed out shirts or chest plates that make their chest look bigger.
Yeah.
Right. Any lower class guy, any guy who like works in a coal mine, any guy who uses his muscles all day is like, you know, I could totally crush you. Yeah. But I'm not, because I'm tired from working 12 hours and I got better things to do, like drink water, eat food, and go listen to my penis and have sex with my wife. Right? And so they just sort of walk by that dude. Right? But that's sort of what Donald Trump is kind of doing. Right? He's higher status. He's still in the mentality of the younger man. It's a lot of false bravado. Or bravado, period. Sorry. False bravado is a double negative. But it's a lot of bravado. And people like that. In general, women like that. It's a risk-taking behavior. The sort of sociopathically, without really concern for your own safety, display yourself as stronger and higher status than you actually are. And usually the only people that engage in this are high status men. Generally when they're younger, right? They're driving a nice car bought by their parents. They're wearing hundreds of dollars worth of clothes bought by their dad, right? But they're living in their one-bedroom apartment off their trust fund, right? And Donald Trump is just sort of a 50, 60-year-old version of that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But generally guys who sort of have that sort of a bravery don't. They quietly or stoically display it because they don't want to display it because they know it attracts competition. It attracts other men who want to sort of compete for that status of the most man on that trait. Right. So you don't advertise it because it attracts.
That's what I think is funny. That's what I think is funny about like when you look at the politics and all the men up on there, and when Trump is boastful and acting like an asshole and saying stuff, all the other men try to puff their chest and act like they're more manly, but none of them are manly. You know, it's all bullshit.
Right, and a good example of that would have been George H.W. Bush.
Yeah,
George H.W. Bush was a very subdued individual, very thin. But he went through a war. He was shot down. He was the only surviving member of his flight group. Right? He swam for hours in the ocean. He could have just died like the rest of them. He actually went through it. On top of that, he's probably a certifiable genius. On top of that, he was the head of the CIA. On top of all that, he also managed to make wealth in his private life. Right? So. Yeah. He came across as kind of a nerdy dude, as kind of a quiet politician, to where he had to be the vice president of Reagan, who was an actor. He played soldier. Reagan was pretend soldier. Everyone loves Reagan. His vice president, George H.W. Bush, was the head of the CIA and a real soldier. Well, it's not soldier, airman. A real airman. He got shot down. The only surviving member of his flight group. And a genius on top of it. And rich on top of that. The only thing he wasn't was good looking.
Yeah.
And so if you compared those two men, Reagan was the fake soldier, and H.W. Bush was the real airman, the real guy, the only survivor. And that's sort of the difference between perceived status, wealth, power dominance and actual status, wealth, power dominance.
But Reagan was actually, he was an actor, so he acted like he was an airman and a cowboy. Isn't that good enough?
Well, when the majority of the voting population is women, and they like pretty things and handsome men, and they focus on appearance and perception rather than material substance fact, as feminism proves, then yes, that is good. When the majority of the voting population are women, it is better to be Reagan. It is better to appear. It is better to be perceived than to actually be. Yes. And that's what Trump is playing on.
Yep. Exactly.
What I want to know is Airmean's point of view on this.
Oh, hold on a sec. I'm listening to you guys. I just had to get some water. I think it's a little different. I'd like to think I'm a bit more balanced because I've always said the pendulum has swung a little bit too far. No, a little bit.
When you say the pendulum has swung a bit too far, which way? And define balance.
What's the pendulum?
The pendulum is on one side, I feel like we have the feminist movement and the emasculation of men. Sorry, I'm sucking on something. And on the other side, you have what I call, well, it would just be a very, not paternal, what's the word I'm looking for? Masculine-driven society where women are dominated. All right, that's the pendulum. And so when I look at it, I think we've done a good job of, first of all, we need to understand what man means. And I don't know that we know that because I think there's also this side of bravado that is expected to act a certain way. But I don't know if that is male in and of itself. I know that there's some biological factors that would lead strength and the dynamics to be male. So that's what I mean. When we're creating a situation where there's like an uprising of groups such as MGTOW, stuff like that, I think that the pendulum has swung too far on the feminist side, where men are feeling marginalized.
And just to interject here a little bit, you made the comment on what it means to be a man. So for me, it's whatever I want it to be. Period. And what feminism is doing today is they're trying to force a definition of man on men. It's like saying it's like the whole fat shaming, or like, oh, all women's beautiful, or only a real man goes for meat or curves. No, we go after whatever the fuck we want. That's the point. Women like what they like, men like what they like. There is at no time any acceptable point where someone can dictate to me what I can and cannot like. You see what I'm saying here? So it's my time to determine what my definition of men would be.
I think people generally advocate people should have sovereignty over their own genitals and such, and of course that kind of freedom to, I guess, to desire what they desire, whatever.
Now, on the term of the pendulum is swung to the side of feminism, I agree with you there. Okay, it has swung to it because of the fact is it's gained so much momentum, and because of the fact that men that classify themselves as male feminists, you have 40-year-old virgins trying to support a movement that degrades men with the hopes of them getting their genitals touched. That's their thought process. So that's why it's gained momentum. It's just to appease the women that are degrading men. So yes, I agree with you on that part. Now, tell me a solution.
I think it has to happen societally. And the thing that's going on, and this is the challenge, we live in a global structure. And so I think in Western cultures, it's swung too far. Like I said, and I probably should have caveated that with the West. I think there are still places where women struggle for decency. I'll just call it that. But I think ideally the place is somewhere in the middle. And what you do is, I think, laws like Sweden and things that are progressive that just treats people equally, given a similar situation. So I think parenting laws need to be addressed. I don't think anymore it should be just seen as the woman gets the kids. I think they got to look at it, both of the parents, and treat them equally. I think there are going to be times where women are going to have to start paying child support because it's a situation where they were the breadwinner, and maybe they don't want to give up the career. I think alimony, we got to grow up. Either we have to decide that we want to be stay-at-home moms and give up the option for, if the marriage fails, alimony. But we have to grow our own stuff, and maybe we shouldn't be giving up our careers and staying home with the kids. And that should be something that's balanced. I think parenting should be balanced.
You're operating under the assumption that men want women to be stay-at-home moms nowadays.
No, I'm not. I'm operating under the assumption that some people want that and some don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, some women want to do that, and that's only after feminism has gone so hard. It's like, women can do it too. Let's all go to the workplace. And then they find out that's not what they really want. They do want to stay home. However, thanks to feminism, they're either A, pressured into staying in the workplace, going against their own nature and what they want, or they can't find a man to support them in that household role anymore, because of the fact is they've been dehumanized so much that they're just like, fuck it, I'm off the plantation.
I don't know if people have been dehumanized so much. See, I'm a single parent. I've been for 19 years. So there was never an option to not work, right? And quite frankly, I don't feel particularly sorry if you chose not to work and don't then have the stills to go out and work. You got to do like the rest of us, start from the bottom and work your way up. I'd rather have the choice of whether I want to go out and work or stay home and take care of the kids, and I like that as an option, but I think it should be a guy's option too, if you choose to have kids. I've seen relationships where guys stay home and they're the homemakers, and that works for them just fine.
Yeah, no. I've seen a couple of these too. No. Look, inevitably, invariably, when the kids hit about 7 or 8, what happens is magically open marriage. What happens? Magically open marriage. Either somehow it's his idea. It's always his idea first. He always gets the swing first, right? And then it's her turn.
What do you mean?
Once she's off.
What do you mean open? What do you mean?
Cuckold.
No, not really. Not at first. Swinging, group sex, or extra pair copulations.
You know, that kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
okay. Both the wife and the husband want that.
Yeah, when the wife works and the guy's at home taking care of the kids, when she's making 60, 80 plus grand a year, I know one of these women. She's the example of why you don't let women run companies. But I won't get into it. Somehow they started a company, her and her husband. What happened was he was like, "Hey, I made enough money. I'm done. Thanks. I'm going to go in my writing. We have like 2, 3 kids. I'm going to take care of them." He's like, "Well, I want to." She had ambition. She wanted to keep working. You know, he sort of started a company, made enough money to where he could support a wife and kids and support his writing, and he went and he did that. She kept working because she now knows how to start businesses and manipulate government grants and all that stuff and the tax system. So she kept doing that. Now she owns construction companies, or a construction company, and what she does, she just bangs her employees. Yeah.
You know this how?
Because I'm banging her executive secretary. And I'm married.
Yep. It's first-hand knowledge. That's the best way.
Dude, and she's embezzled like $500,000. Yeah.
Well, why don't you report her to the police then?
Because, man, what is it? It's like, ever see Game of Thrones, Varys? Yeah, secrets. Secrets are more valuable than fact. And what do I stand to gain from reporting her ass to the police other than the chick I'm banging losing her job? Yeah, it causes nothing but destruction. Trust me, I was banging another chick 10 years ago who's embezzling from her organization. All exposure does is harm. That's
so
how
women are like this,
continues.
And that's all women, is it?
Yeah, there's men that embezzle.
Oh, the Nawalt theory.
I'm not saying it's all women. What I'm saying is that of the women we know who are in marriages where the husband stays home, for one reason or another, they eventually wind up screwing other dudes.
Here.
We're gonna more and more regular. It gets more, and the research will back this up. This is not just me giving you my anecdotal experience. This is my anecdotal experience supporting the evidence.
So apparently we're going to go down this yellow brick road called Nawalt.
Yeah, here we go.
I have no idea what that means. What does that mean?
Nawalt, not all women are like that. Now, let me layeth the smacketh down on you. Okay, so
no, you can stop being a dick for a start.
No, I couldn't.
No,
no, and thank you for the compliment, by the way.
I'm trying to compliment you.
Well, I took it as one anyway because I chose to. So
I don't really care.
The point is when you said is that all women. Okay, he's making a generalization. You just stepped up to the plate for people that wouldn't give two thoughts about any one of us here. So when the Nawal is not all women are like that, that is what you basically described. It's the same thing as looking for a unicorn or a purple squirrel.
I have no idea what you just said makes any sense at all.
I wouldn't expect you to understand. That's the point.
If that wasn't representative of all women, what's your point then?
Was it representative of all women? That's the point, you know.
No, you've not. You didn't listen to what I asked you. What was the point of the statement?
The point of the statement is the guy M was speaking about his own personal experience, because you said something and then he said, what facts are you basing it on? And he said, based upon the fact that I'm fucking this girl that's whatever. So based upon that experience there, first eyewitness, he's bringing it to the table. But then you to say, come after that to say, not all women are like that. Well, we know not all women are like that. But the women that he's just spoken about is like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
What are we supposed to take from this then?
The point is, you shouldn't have stepped up and said, are all women like that? No, if someone says, from my personal experiences, it's the people that he's dealt with. I'm sorry, did the middle of my sentence interrupt the beginning of yours?
I don't really care. I'll speak if I want to.
I'm sure you will. The point is, when he said, from my personal experiences, he was talking about the women around him. Okay, so and you made a sweeping generalization that it was applied to all women. That itself implies ignorance.
No, I asked the question.
I stand by what I said.
Okay. Let me negate this Nawalt argument and Namalt and all that. Not all people. I get it. Nepalt. I get it. With 7 billion plus people on the planet, by matter of fact, yes, not everyone will be like anything. So can we just dismiss this ridiculous deflection on
I'm trying to ascertain what your point is actually trying to drive towards. So you're banging the secretary. What do you do? So what does that tell us about the situation that you're talking about? You said that women shouldn't own company. I mean, what earth kind of statement is that?
Well, hold on. Well, it just means that I'm getting first-hand information from an intimate source that is effectively bragging to the one person that can keep her secret. And of course, I'm not, because I'm talking about it live on air. But no one, it's not the internet. Yeah.
About one person.
There were 2 others in my past. And are we talking about just women who have stay-at-home husbands? Women that cheat on their stay-at-home husbands? I got two other people that I came in.
You were making an assertion about
women who embezzle. I got one 10 years ago. Another one that I was sleeping with.
Well, so you say.
Why would I lie about such random crap?
I have no idea. People lie about all sorts of things.
Oh, wow. This is too,
crap from someone.
I'm so
I have
old,
no idea
I have like
you were told was true.
And 2 cuckolding stories while I'm bragging.
You're talking about a situation, and then you put forward an anecdote, and it tells us what? What does it tell us? That you're banging someone who's
by the data. That it's supported by the data. Look up the research on women who cheat on their.
Show me the data.
Look up.
I'm not looking anything up. You show me the data.
Okay, well then believe me or not, I got better things to do than prove everything.
That reminds me of the conversation we had earlier.
Give us a link.
Yeah, I told you, Optimus.
Yeah, you told me about the whole people. It's like, show me the data when they don't bother looking it up for themselves. It's like, okay, well, we do the legwork for you, and then it's like, well, it's not peer-reviewed.
Yeah, I'm not writing
citation provided.
I'm not writing an article that's being published in a journal. Yeah,
I'm not asking you to write an article. I'm asking you to give me a link. You said the data's there.
That's essentially a book. That's essentially the difference between fiction and nonfiction. Nonfiction at the end of the bullshit they're telling you has a bunch of links and citations.
No idea what that's all about.
Get that at the end. People don't care about the end.
Do you have a link or not?
Look it up yourself, dude. I don't care.
Do you have a link or not?
Believe me
or not. It's not a question of whether I believe you. You said that their data was there, so show us the data.
Do I have proof there's a tiger in the room?
I've no idea what you have proof of. I'm asking you.
Look, man. Disbelieve me at your own displeasure. Disbelieve me at your own risk, at your own peril. That's right.
I don't know why you're saying this. I'm asking you to show me the data you said you had. You said that there was data. Presumably you know of the source, so what's the problem?
Moderator. Moderator. Moderator.
This is like a troll tactic.
I'm letting it
You
go.
want people to believe. You want people
He's
to just
herping
believe
when he
what you
should have
say
been
then.
derping.
He's herping when he should have been derping.
I mean,
Do you
it's,
not understand?
it's the same thing I asked of you, which is show me the stats. Whenever someone says all or a majority, I really question it. And if there's data out there, I mean, I can do a Google search and I'm perplexed to find anything. So if you have it, make my life easier. But I just don't see that there's, like, and I don't even know how you would get that data. If it would be self-identified, yes, I stole money from my company, or yes, I'm the breadwinner and I'm having an affair. Like, who the hell's going to even admit to that? So that's why I would question it. Like,
That's the insane part about it.
I have a suggestion.
Your own psychological statement. See, here's the thing. There's two things you just displayed. One, people do.
Yeah, exactly.
Just look up any evolutionary psych journal, any social psychology journal. Just look up extra pair copulations, cheating. Yep. Look up adultery. Just look up and then by you saying that you can't imagine anyone who would admit it is, as a woman, admitting that you can imagine doing it. But in imagining doing it, you can't imagine admitting it.
I have a suggestion, Em. We have to get video evidence of you banging this chick and then her revealing the secrets to you.
Yeah,
hold on a second. Although
wouldn't do that.
commonly solicit extra pair copulation, the adaptive reason has remained elusive. That's all I mean.
Diversity. It's not rocket science. It's really basic biological principles and premises. I get it. Men and women cheat when they have the opportunity. The reasons why are different. But the fundamental biological reason, the reason why they cheat, is diversity. Some creatures are more tended to diversity than others. Some moths only mate with similar colored moths, whereas some moths only mate with different colored moths. And then some moths are called promiscuous and mate with any color moth. There's no moral qualification to these factual behaviors. I think that's what a lot of people are missing here when they throw out the Nawalt argument. Of course, Nawalt. I'm not making a judgment on women. I'm saying the tendencies of behavior. There's a difference between a quantitative statement and a qualitative statement. I'm just saying quantitatively the numbers will support.
When you say that women shouldn't run companies, you kind of are making a judgment.
General tendency. I would argue that, yes, the Bible, for thousands of years, men have been telling themselves women should not have positions of power and authority, especially over men.
Timothy 2:11. Look it up.
Why have men been saying this?
Look it up.
Why would I look something up in the Bible?
The point here is that it's for thousands of years men have been giving wisdom. There's certain
Citation
trends.
Click away. I'm not.
It's like saying you shouldn't touch a hot stove. Oh, that's stove oppression.
Sorry, none of what you're saying makes the slightest bit of sense.
Stop oppressing the hot stove.
Look, let's just say this and put this particular one to rest, because there's more topics that have got to be hit, and I believe that everyone should have their turn in saying whatever they're going to say. If we're going to talk about facts, bringing facts at the table, and most people are not going to accept the facts, facts could be altered or this information could be altered, this negates it. So therefore, we're going to be in a conversation based upon people's personal experiences. If people can't take other people's personal experiences on one fact, well, that just means later on in the month, whatever, we can have 2 or 3 women on the call that have husbands, that have relationships, but they're fucking other men, and they can tell you why they're doing this. This will eradicate that. So just for time purposes now, because everyone has got a life to lead, let's go on to the next topic and not bicker, and let's get this thing more juicy. Is that fair or is it not fair?
Well, no, because no one has put forward any facts.
Well, this is what I mean, because that's what I just said in my opening statement. Some individuals say they have a fact. If the individual brings the fact, someone else will say, wait a minute, your fact can't be verifiable because you're going to do whatever. This means that if I bring a book and you don't like the bring that I book, and you bring a book and I don't like the book that you bring, therefore negates it all. So all we're going to do is have a conversation based upon people's life experiences. If the people's life experiences are not there, taken from facts from someone else, that means that at a later time, everyone is going to have to bring audio evidence, video evidence, or as what I just suggested, I can bring in 3 or 4 women that I know that are married and fucking other guys, and then you can hear it from their mouths. And I can get them to bring audio footage of this or video footage. That will remedy it. But for now, I don't think there's any use of going back and forth with your facts are not worthy, my facts are not worthy. We've said what we're going to say. Let's move on to the next one. This is, blocking it up.
Well, there's no blocking at all. An assertion was made and proof was asked.
Yeah, but you're not going to. I'm not going to get in with this with you, G, because I've just said to you the proof was asked, but you wouldn't like the proof if the proof was submitted to you.
Well, you don't know that. You're just speculating now.
Yeah, based upon how you're speaking and based upon. Anyway, I'm not going to get into you with G. Moderator.
Okay, well, you just did. Now, when someone turns around and calls you on it, you decide that you want to chuck your words out.
Right, you haven't called me on anything because I've just given you logic, dude. If you listen, if M goes and gets evidence and gives it to you, then what? If he gives you the evidence,
does he have any evidence? Let's find out. Does he have any evidence?
Right. Okay. So let's move on.
You don't want to provide evidence.
That's the whole point.
Okay. You can't sit there and make claims and then say I don't like it when people ask me to back up those claims. That's ridiculous.
I get where you're coming from, but for the fact of saving this and moving on, people are not going to take on someone's evidence, so he's given a life experience, which is fair enough. You then to go, blah blah, your life experience is ditto. You're well within your right to do that. So all right, we've gotten to that stage. Let's move on now. That's all I'm saying. Let's move. It's getting boring, dude. You're epic.
Yeah. Well, let me real quick. And I'm not gonna just harp on the issue. I'm just gonna say, and I've had this problem with creationists. The complex stuff I would have to go through to prove to you that the sun will rise tomorrow. It just isn't worth the time. You can either believe that the sun will rise tomorrow, or you cannot. Yes, true, I can teach you the physics and show you all the instruments you would need to do and use to prove, the sun does exist, the Earth is rotating around it and spinning, and that tomorrow the sun will rise. I can do that today. It would take most of the day, but I could do that. Or you could just believe the sun will rise tomorrow or it won't. Honestly, we all have better things to do.
Okay, the other thing we were going to talk about, Em, you came in later, so the other thing we were talking about is the kind of lack of sympathy for male circumcision in the United States, and how women kind of pawn it off in feminism, and I feel it's like the ultimate misandry, where men are basically forced to circumcise their children so that later on they'll look better for women. That's basically what it's done for, because most women will say that they don't agree with circumcision in boys, that it should be a choice that a boy should have, and then you'll ask them, do you like circumcised boys or not? I'll say, no, I don't. I like circumcised guys. I don't want to sleep with a circumcised guy. So we're doing this. We're mutilating our boys in society for women's viewing pleasure, and it's basically offering them up on a plate. And I'm going to throw that out there and see what you guys have to say about that.
I'm actually going to hold my comment because, I have my facts and citations already for, whoever's going to, automatically bring up, well, bring me facts. So I'm going to save mine until everyone asks for facts, because it's a given.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying earlier about when you circumcise a child, one of the biggest problems that you're going to have is it turns the foreskin into scar tissue, and scar tissue loses its feeling. And with me, as it is with at least three of us in this room right now, it makes it to where it's very hard to have have sex, and it's became a big problem in my life, and one of the reasons why I've lost 3 wives, because I can't have a quickie. Sometimes it's just a fact. Sometimes women just want to get fucked. Sometimes women just want to have a quickie. They want some guy to just plow into them for like 5 minutes, be done and over with it, and let me get on with my fucking day. Sometimes women want that. And a lot of guys, because they're circumcised, can't give them that. So that's what makes them go out and cheat.
I support this, and I'm not going to ask for a dick pic from you, Shi-Nu, because that will be inappropriate. But I do believe that, because you said you're certain, I'll take you on face value. But I myself, I'm circumcised. I'm not going to show a dick pic. As I said, that wouldn't be good. But yes, when it comes to relationships with women, I remember in secondary school, I went to one of my secondary schools. It was just pure debaucherous. We were fingering girls at lunchtime. I was fingering girls in French class. And a lot of the girls used to laugh at the guys that weren't circumcised. And they made it seem like there was something wrong with these guys. To the point where you felt you were the chosen one because you were circumcised. But fast forward it 17, 18 years, you're in relationship with women and you can't have a quickie. They want a quickie, but you just can't give it to them because you're numb. The tip of your penis is numb. And all you can manage to do is 2 hours for the first round and then 7 hours for the second round because you're completely numb.
Yeah. And the longer you're with a woman, kind of the less aroused you become at a woman, the longer you're with her. So obviously you're going to have a harder time coming. So when you're with a woman for like a year or two and you've already plowed her, 100 times already, it gets harder for you to even have a quickie at that point because, some girl just wants to come and jump on your bones and you start having sex and then an hour and a half later you come,
Yes, you may. Moderator, someone wants to speak.
It's fine. Like everyone cuts me off because I don't speak that much English. Anyway, so I have non-circumcised thing, and I did suffer from premature ejaculation when I first started having sex. So that is a potential drawback of still having a foreskin. There's that. Also, you can masturbate without Vaseline. I'm not sure if that's something that happens after you've been circumcised. Like you need Vaseline to masturbate, or is that
That's not something that normally people that can do without a foreskin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, G left. What the hell? I was kind of I wanted to get angry today because every time he talked, I got angry. I don't know why. It's not
Mark it down, 11:02 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's like not like
He
I
walks
just
the dog. He walks the dog.
Like it's just attitude. Like it's not that I disagree with him. It's like his attitude just got me angry.
Yeah.
People like that is I don't know. All right, continue.
Well, Hermione, I mean, you said there that, what I found, yet again, because, this is based upon personal life experiences, I found that with a lot of women, I have a lot of female friends and a lot of ex-sexual partners. And we'll find the longer you go with these women, they feel that you... Sorry, how do I pronounce it?
Hermine.
Hermine.
Here, all right.
Yeah, he was thinking like Hermione from...
All right, forgive me. So what it is that I know women, like the back of my hand, but women will know themselves, right? But the situation is, when you're with a woman and you're basically a machine, they say they want a man, to ruin them, in theory. But in actual fact, I find that based upon the women that I've been with, after a while, they feel rejected because they can't satisfy you. They feel that they're not able to do what they're meant to do in the bedroom. So this then is a contradictory aspect to the idea of wanting a man that is uncircumcised. Because as our friend just said there, he said that, having, not being circumcised, premature ejaculation, yes. But then the thing about this, that the game that is being played here, the majority of women do not enjoy sex majority of the time over a given minute. I mean, I did some research years ago. A professional, I think she was I don't know, I think she was some sort of a ex-porn star that wrote a book, and she went around finding how long it takes for a woman to have an orgasm or coming, and they said the average woman can come in 7 minutes based upon the variables. If she likes the guy, if she's in tune with us, with herself, and so on and so forth. But yet again, the myth here is some women will say they want a man that's uncircumcised. So the men that are circumcised feel a way about themselves. But then when the majority of these women meet men that are uncircumcised and the guys are just going on forever, then they now complain about this and they want the guy that's uncircumcised, because at least with the majority of guys that are uncircumcised, you don't have to go through war every night with your partner. So Shi-Nu has now had 3 marriages that didn't go too well. I've had now a string of relationships that didn't go too well, and
I've had a marriage, so.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. So based upon this evidence, or what we've said, it seems that it could be not just because of our environment, could the fact that because we're all uncircumcised men.
But and women that I've been with that this has happened, and I always tell them when I get into the relationship that the fact is like when we're having sex, there's a chance that I might not even come. Like I get tired, I get worn out to where I just after like an hour, I'm just like, nah, I'm done. I don't think I'm gonna come, and you've already came like 3 times. I'm done. And sometimes I'll even get to the point where I'm attracted to them, but I'm to the point where like I'll have sex with them until they come, and then I just stop because I don't really care.
What you're saying there, Shi-Nu, I've experienced this many and hundreds of times with myself. All right, so 3 of us now, this is something that's not being said a lot, and it's good that it's being brought out here.
Well, the problem is they'll take it personal. That's something that I've noticed a lot. A lot of women will take that personally because they feel that they're not a woman if they can't make you come, because it's an easy thing. Most women think it's an easy thing. They feel a sense of accomplishment if they've made a man come. And if they can't make you come, they feel like they're in some way inadequate. Like they can't.
Wait. Point of clarification. Point of clarification real quick. I got a question. Are you saying this is a result of being circumcised or not?
Yes.
As a result of being circumcised, there's anywhere between 10,000 and 20,000 nerve endings just in the foreskin alone. This is the point that I wanted to bring up when Ermaine, implied that women may not like like they find married sex boring. Okay. That may very well be true. However, it's not a result of mutilation to their genitals. That's the point I'm trying to make. Sure, they may find married sex boring, but here I am spending 2.5 hours, 3 hours angry because I can't get off, and they've already got off 17 times. So at that point, I just fake it and say, fuck it, go to sleep.
Okay. Yeah, without engaging that hyperbole, this is just something that a lot of men I've seen starting to admit ever since Jim Jeffries admitted it 5-6 years ago or whatever on his stand-up routine.
Yep.
Condoms plus circumcision. Condoms plus circumcision equals you're gonna have to fake it.
Yeah.
And yet there's neurological and immunological effects on the woman. Remember, biology is all about selfish behavior essentially when it comes right down to it. So it's not. They are taking it personally. And the body is connected to the mind, so they rationalize and justify a psychological reason why they're taking it personally. But in the physiological sense, sex is supposed to result in semen being deposited. The semen has certain antidepressant effects, has other effects that are positive to the female. This is all evolved to encourage people to have sex so that we reproduce. Right? This all makes sense, and of course, this exists on a normative curve. Some people are going to prefer this over more than others, and some people less than others. Right? Some people are going to be semen adverse. Some people are so semen adverse they're allergic to it physiologically.
Yeah,
those people aren't going to reproduce. And some people like it so much that we have bukkake fetish.
Yep.
Right? We wouldn't have that fetish if those women didn't like it. Right? Those women aren't being forced to do it for whatever reason they're doing it. Right, so we get some women that are allergic to semen that can't have any, And we got some women who love it so much that they voluntarily engage in bukkake videos, right? And then most people are in the middle. You understand? And yeah, that just sort of makes sense. And so the desensitization of the penis over time, right? This is what's good and bad about circumcision, right? A circumcised boy, when he's young, you know, as said, has to use lube. Very sensitive. Has to learn to control himself. But then over time, as he gets older, it's easier and easier for him to control himself. He gets more and more desensitized. Then eventually, 15, 20, 25 years into sexual activity, he's got to, you know, experiences a midlife crisis. He either has to go for really young women or really freaky women. And yes, I think we can connect this to circumcision, if that's the hypothesis. I think that's not an unreasonable hypothesis.
Yeah, in my vast majority of experience, I've been with lots of women, lots of different races of women in different countries. I've found this to be pretty much equal in most places I've been in. That I constantly tell them that if I don't come, or if I you know, get tired and I just decide not to come and I don't care, it's not your fault. And I always have to prerequisite that before I even have sex with them. And in some cases, because I tell them that, they get excited and they actually want to have sex with me because they want to like have sex for an hour and a half. And then they start to realize, like I'm saying, the problem is my idea of a quickie is like 35 or 40 minutes. That's the closest I can come to coming if I'm with a woman. And that's if I really am attracted to you. So that's only going to be within maybe the first week or two, you know. So after that, it's going to take me like 2.5 hours to come, you know. And I'll only have sex with you for maybe an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. And then I'll just get tired and roll over and go to bed, you know, because I'm done. And so, they don't like that. They start taking that personally because they remember, like, at least they could make you come within 35 to 40 minutes before. And now all of a sudden they can't, so now they start to feel inadequate, kind of like a man that can't get his dick hard. They start to have the same feelings as a woman that can't make her man come. And in many cases, what happens is those women go out and cheat on you because they want to get that satisfaction of a man that they've made come.
And basically, it gets to that point to where the, you know, like say I'm in a relationship or whatnot, and we've been together for, I don't know, 6 months. Well, at that point, she asks for sex, and you know, you get the reaction of, man, I have to go to work. You know, you get that tired look on your face, like, all right, let's go. You know, it gets to a point to where it's not even desired anymore.
And what you're saying here is very powerful. What we've all said here is very powerful because this conversation needed to be said a long time ago. The reason why I say that is this. Even when Shi-Nu or when men in that situation will say, look, this is not your fault, don't internalize it. What's going on is when it comes to women, they're not giving the white birth for men in this aspect. This itself is contradictory to the idea of fairness, justness, or any idea of feminism. And my whole take on this is, if you have a woman that is unable to satisfy her partner, wouldn't it be the proper thing to do to communicate and understand, to come together, pardon the pun, to try to enjoy each other, instead of then internalizing it now and having this false idea of self and going around to another guy just so you can get the gratification or mental satisfaction of just getting a guy to come when your partner's at home and you can't do this. And also the other part of this is the false arrogance of most women and most idea in the media that men are 1 minute guys or men are 2 minute men. And this is the bone of contention in my personal life that I had with friends of mine for the past 20 years now, telling them, listen, I know a lot of women that are 2 minute women, the majority of them are, and what will happen is a lot of men will now be captains saving a hoe they don't know. Not that the women I engage with are hoes, But the fact is, if you're talking to someone that's meant to be a friend or someone that's meant to be understanding, and you say, listen, in my personal life, because now I don't know it's because I'm circumcised, but when I'm with women, I don't seem to derive the same sort of pleasure that you're talking about. Can we have a conversation so I can understand myself and not feel like an outsider, and so I can know that there's nothing wrong with me? But what you have is you have some men picketing for a woman that is not there, and even when you speak to the women, they have no idea of this. They just think you're fucked up. You're damned if you do and damned if you don't. And this is what this needs to be spoken about. Why women have a lackluster for men and how they feel to things. This is what has got to be understood by all women for us to now start having a healthy relationship where we can talk to each other. So this is why I want Himani, I can't pronounce it, I want you to speak about this, to give your point so we can see where you're coming from, and other women or other undercover feminists or whoever they are, to have a voice so we can have a good dialogue. So please.
There are 2-minute men. I can speak to that. There are men that are longer. I can speak to that. There are men that are larger, men that are shorter. The overwhelming majority of men, I would say about 10, 15 minutes. I don't...
Look, we know that this has been the narrative. What I'm saying is that as a woman, what do you say to 3 men now? What I can do is, as I can say, maybe next week, if you want to get on call, I can bring 3 women that I've had sexual relationships with to say, in comparison to me, they are 2-minute women. This is what we're talking about. The fact that women, we've just said, some women, or the majority of women that I've been involved with, they are 2-minute women. They have a problem with satisfying a man. They are incapable of satisfying a man. They have no they have no idea of what they're doing, and they don't care about what they're doing because society is skewed in their favor. What have you got to say about this?
All right, I'm gonna leave it as much as I can outside of me and say, well, I'll say this first. I have never had any complaints. I've never had anything but rave reviews, but I'm very liberated. Very. I feel very comfortable in my body. I feel very comfortable in, when I make love, have sex, whatever, I do it a different way. I try and please the other person. I found when it's mutually pleasing, it is the best sex ever. I've had orgasms that people could write the real, 50 Shades of Grey about. And I've given some of the best and most appreciated, sex ever. And there's just a connection there. I'm not like most women. I can't have sex with people I don't know and strangers. I have to have an intellectual, emotional connection with someone before I feel that free and comfortable.
All right. I'm gonna quickly interject here something very important. The majority of women I know believe that because men approach them on a regular basis, and because men are always trying to have sex with them, and when they do have sex with men, the men do not tell them, well, you're average or shit, blah blah blah. I was saying this to Shi-Nu earlier on. Telling a woman, oh, I came, and giving her a false belief is destroying our society to a certain point. Now,
I've never had. You can't falsely. We're not talking about false coming. Sorry. Next.
No. Wait a minute. I'm trying to put something to you, so just hear what I'm saying, because I know a lot of women that falsify them having an orgasm with men. But I was telling a lot of men years ago, men, I know what now. I'm hearing from Shi-Nu that a lot of men are falsifying having a good time with women. If a majority of women are not told that they're shit in bed, they will have an understanding that they're perfect. Now, this will then go, because I know a lot of women that believe that they're great in bed, they believe they're the best lovers, they're the best women, whatever, but yet, in fact, they don't have a partner in their life loving them and showering them with gifts. Because what I find is a lot of women that say, oh, I was great in bed yesterday with this guy, but how comes he hasn't called me? How comes he's not looking to take me? Well, I know, but I'm waiting to tell you,
it's not my problem. You asked me for my perspective, and then you don't let me. finish
But wait
my
a minute,
perspective.
yeah, but
Ego,
in
it's like
perspective to
ridiculous.
this- No, wait a minute. In perspective to this, I'm saying generally, this is not your problem. Some of the things that we're talking about here is not my problem, but give your input to say, right, so in a situation where you have the majority of women that say, we're not talking about you now, we're talking about the majority of women that believe they're all dad and a bag of chips in bed. If they're all dad and a bag of chips, how comes that mindset doesn't support the fact that they don't have a man with them 24/7 to write rape reviews and to say, you're so great, I'm going to marry you, I'm going to live the rest of my life with you? That's what I'm putting to you.
Okay, because most women are shit in bed. When I listen to, and I can't say most, but there are at least, I would say 50% that do lie there, that aren't adventurous, that don't give a damn about what the other person wants, that have too many damn body issues to ever have masturbate, let alone have sex, that are more concerned with how they look as opposed to how they feel. There's a multitude of reasons that care about their stretch marks, that care about, a scar or this or that. They're very self-conscious. I think that's the biggest thing, is women not feeling that they're attractive. And so when they get into positions, they find it icky or scary or whatever the situation is. I think that's bizarre. I think sex is sometimes icky, but it's also fun. So when you're talking about women, and I've heard them, they have marriages that they haven't had sex in 2 years. They have marriages, or maybe once a year they get to have sex in marriage, whatever the situation is. For the life of me, I don't know that I could stay married in that situation. I think that sex, and what we've proven, is that women kind of last 3 or 4 years. There's articles, I already put the article out there, that showed they last happily about 3 or 4 years, and then they drag for the remaining. And I don't know what that is about. But then again, I haven't been married. I choose not to be at this point until I found someone that I think is the right fit, which I'm in that position now. So it's a different situation for most women. I don't think that these women really think that they're rock stars in bed. I think they think they're acceptable. I think when you see Kim Kardashian, she may be a rock star in bed, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
I've watched her sex tapes. I don't think so.
I haven't seen.
I've been with a lot of women, and I can honestly say I've probably, out of the many women that I've been with, I've probably only had sex with maybe 2 or 3 women that have been really good in bed. The rest have been mediocre at best. And I'm one of those people that do fake cum. I've had many situations where I knew that the girl was getting to the point in the relationship where she was feeling like it was her fault that I was taking so long because she was too loose and she was too wet and she wasn't very good in bed, and she was starting to feel it was her fault. So the best way to get them to not feel that way is to make them think that they made you cum.
How do you fake cum? It shows. It's all over.
Oh, you can easily fake a full body orgasm.
Yeah.
You can easily make your genitals twitch inside of her to simulate the ejaculation process.
Yeah,
it's relatively easy for men.
Yeah, but when a guy ejaculates on your tits or your face or your inside, it oozes out.
What if you?
Yeah, but Jim Jeffries explains this. It's the condom.
Let me pose a question, however. Ermine, from your perspective, what solution would you propose to solve this?
Good question.
Yeah, what would you say if a guy told you, like, if you slept with a guy and he said, I wasn't really happy, that wasn't very good. What would you do?
Individually, I'd want him to communicate and tell me what he wanted. That would be my proposal.
Most women wouldn't want that. Most women
have to have that. But if you don't have the communication, how do you know what's working and not working? If a guy's not like, to the left, get on top of me, do this, do that, harder, faster.
Well, that's the thing. Most women don't do that
How am I
either.
supposed to know.
Most women won't tell guys that. A lot of guys are bad in bed because they don't know what the fuck to do.
This is
Lots of
why
guys don't even know where the clitoris is at until a woman
So,
tells them.
hold on a second. So your solution is to communicate more, correct?
And be honest with the communication. Yeah.
Okay. Now, my next question is: in a society where it's expected that men, quote unquote, man up and not communicate feelings and stuff like that, what solution would you propose to fix that?
Be honest with them. Right? So I'm going to communicate with you and let you know, hey, it didn't seem like you enjoyed it as much. What do you need from me? Like, I have to be honest and open with them first. Like, that's how trust and stuff works. You can't just expect it from the other person unless you're willing to give it first.
Right, but you also have to remember that from a very young age, a man has been told that he can't share his feelings, he can't share his emotions. You can't force him to communicate with you on a whim just because you require it.
Okay,
there has to be a motivation.
If you can't get a man that can communicate, next.
Okay, so then you just proved my whole theory.
Yes, you have there, because that's terrible. That's out of order.
That's not out of order. If there's something, if a person literally is stuck in the mud and this is who they are, you're not going to change anybody. The only person who's going to change someone is that person. If they want, they change. If they don't, they don't.
Okay, see, the thing is that is, most women, not saying you, many women, can't handle honesty, and their response to honesty is usually next, like what you just said. So you're one of the few. You have to explain to men it's okay. Even like some women, they say, no, I want you to be honest with me. I give them an honest opinion of what I think of them, and then they just get pissed off.
Well, no, here's the problem. A lot of women, and I think this is a problem, when they're having problems in relationships, what do? They turn to other women. The hell? How does that make sense? I have a brother. I tell my brother what's going on, and he tells me what's up from the man's point of view. At least the best that he can. So we sit around and we talk to a whole bunch of women all day, and then we wonder why we're not getting the satisfaction. Talk to your brothers. Talk to your homeboy and be honest with them, and they'll tell you, try this, do this, blah, 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 blah. And go ahead.
There's a reason why they do this. And the reason is, I'll explain. Based on my experience with some women, I get the sense that they don't actually want an honest answer about what the man feels. What they want is, how can I get what I want out of this man, even though he feels this way?
Or they're just looking for people to agree. Speaking of which, that's my man. I'll be back.
Hold on. That was the sound of me dropping the mic. So, yeah.
I don't know, right?
I mean, in all honesty, I posed non-biased questions to her. You know, it wasn't beratement in any form or fashion. You're barely coming through, but the questions were objective. They weren't biased in any way. Agreed?
Right. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, that much emotion coming from her like that, based on questions that she couldn't answer logically, she reverted back to next.
Yeah. Well, that's
which just proved my entire point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, that's their go-to thing, though. You know, when you talk to a woman, the first thing, if you tell them anything that's bad about them, the first thing they'll say is, there you go, there's mansplaining or something. They'll just kind of brush it off. They'll say something to kind of make it look like it's your fault, you know?
Well, I don't think, oh, sorry.
Swipe right and then complain about why there's no good men left. Kind of thing.
I don't complain about that. I mean, like, for me, like, communication things also pretty important because there are probably some messages I need to, get clear before anything starts. Like, like I'm trans, right? That kind of better not be a surprise, or a lot of
I can't believe it.
myself get killed. What's that?
I can't believe it. Not you too.
Well, give me my voice. Sorry. Well, it's not like I remotely pass, but occasionally there are some guys that are just like drunk enough, or I don't know. And given the stakes, like life and death, I really better damn make sure, right? So, there are other things to start with, like hey, as interested as you might be in those like myself, just there are certain parts I'm not comfortable with having touched and all that. I mean, there's things to get across. Likewise, whatever it is. But, that kind of presumes it's sort of like one-on-one. More commonly in my life, I guess I don't know if I do what I do very often, but what I do is maybe not like what the rest of you do. Also, I know I don't. And I guess there are positions or whatever it is that I guess don't need me to be extremely skilled. There are also what is it? Not really big fans of these. What is it? Pair bonding, whatever it is, kind of relationships, or for that matter, I guess the familial relation structure and all that. So, so I'm a bit maybe further out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point number one. Didn't Erosion say that she was single previously?
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Yeah, she said that a couple of times in hangouts with me.
So then
she might marry.
So then she pulled the classical hit the dial button on her phone and was like, "I'm gonna go talk to my man."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have to do it. Drop the mic again. Okay, so
she's actually got kids, and she was apparently, from what she just said, never married. So I think she has a daughter. She has a daughter that's like 19, and she's in college, and she's in California right now. I got on her one day about gender studies programs and stuff, and she said she's in a college that doesn't have a gender studies program, which is pretty hard to find in California. But the thing I would say about it is my problem is in the bedroom especially, it always ends up being a man's fault. If a man can't get, if a woman can't get wet, it's a man's fault. If a woman can't have an orgasm, it's a man's fault. If a man can't get his dick hard, it's a man's fault.
Did you see how I worded that though? The question, so that way she would dig her own hole.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Optimus. Wait a minute, Optimus. Did you see how I set up the layup? Did you see?
Oh, dude, you set her up and I knocked her down.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I was telling you guys. If they come in,
I don't think
especially with that one guy that came in, I was actually in hangouts with him, but I didn't know if he was a white knight or not. But I kind of opened this up because I threw it in the description, like Nadia does. I threw the Google Hangout in the description to where anybody that wants to can come in, and I knew by doing that I would get some haters come in.
And for Nazi-looking guy, he was just. I'm sorry, I couldn't take it. I just layeth the smacketh down right then and there. It's like, I don't expect you to understand. You're beneath me.
Yeah.
So
if you're kowtowing to a woman, you're already beneath us.
Yeah. So point number 2, Nadia. I'm trying to understand, because your voice didn't come through at certain points. When you say you're farther out there with the whole pair bonding, you're not into that. So you're basically into the aspect of having fun, right? As long as it's mutually agreed upon, sort of like friends with benefits or hookups and stuff like that. I mean, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and and that is honestly a great way to look at it.
And also, sexual activities at clubs.
Yeah.
I generally don't prefer to bring people back to my house.
Yeah, but Nadia, the thing about it is right, in comparison to yourself and Amani, look, forget about that, but the reason why I don't think there can even be a comparison is because naturally you have a higher sex drive than the average woman. And if you're sexually, about that life, you will be able to communicate with the partners that you have and be having an honest dialogue to do three key things. Because if you're transgendered, I believe that's what you said, that means that you have a perspective of both sides.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Ego. It's not that easy. When you take female hormones as a transgender, typically you lose your sex drive. A lot of them actually don't really want sex much at all anymore. You kind of have to force yourself, and you actually, in many cases, become impotent.
So I mean, Nadia seems to be okay, no? I mean, Nadia's having fun, no?
Yeah, you're having fun, Nadia? You having fun, Nadia?
What's that again?
Nadia, you look like a dom. Are you a dom?
I don't really do the DNS, just the S&M.
Okay.
So, the slave and master.
No, sadism and masculine stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
we really
I don't really want it as some kind of like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm part of the BDSM community, so it's that when you said S&M, I'm just like, oh, slave and master. Okay, finally something we can talk on, But no, it's sadist and masochist. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really kind of want it as an aspect of domination, so to speak, or submission or whatever. But hey, there are some things that feel good to me, like I don't know, whatever kind of stingy like whip stuff or electricity or needles or whatever. And hey, that I guess it doesn't necessarily sell with all the pickup play I do. I pretty much stick to pickup play. But there's some people who at least they kind of go on. It's not that hard to do the pickup play. Whatever. Go ahead.
No, Nadia, you are cracking me right up. You're speaking, Nadia. You don't finish off what you're saying.
Whatever you are on, I want some.
Why so?
Mostly Diet Coke. Liter bottles of Diet Coke.
Yeah, she's lugging that shit down for hours.
What was the question?
He said he wants what you're on. He said you're not finishing your sentences.
She is, but her voice trails off, and I don't know if I could do that for one day, I would be blissfully happy.
When you're saying like on that Diet Coke, I was thinking something kind of pervy. It's not that, like, imagine you open the top of that Diet Coke and just start writing it so it mixes with your juice. Okay.
Oh. I know. I was thinking Shi-Nu was meaning the aspartame content.
Okay. Sorry about that. If it's getting it a bit too much, I'll pull back.
Because aspartame, while it doesn't do anything like at that moment, it has a history for the condition Alzheimer's.
Yeah, but I think that could be the reason why she drinks the Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke, because it actually doesn't have any aspartame in it.
I don't think yeah, the aspartame matters to me. I think the caffeine, whatever it is, kind of stimulant is what I try to get, especially since my thyroid died. I mean, I had kind of two really big legs down as far as like fatigue and endurance or whatever it is, and I was a heart attack January 2012, and then yes, onset of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, in, I guess August 2012. So.
We have an ongoing joke on one of the other chats: coffee porn.
Coffee porn.
Yeah, like for me, I'm a sucker for a real good cup of coffee.
Yeah, I don't do stimulants.
And so I'm just like, yeah, coffee. And then all of a sudden everyone starts posting pictures of coffee, and I'm like, oh, I'm almost there. Hold on, don't stop. You know. So it's a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, they say what's it? What is it like? Adderall and such would have me develop tolerance or something like that, and so it's not really worthy fix, and it's also contraindicated by my cardiac history and such. Like modafinil Provigil, they say doesn't have insurance coverage, so. And I think neither one of them are approved or whatever it is for, I guess, use outside of narcolepsy. That is by the insurance. That is, sorry.
I this Latinas be like, I'm 104 years old. It feels like.
What?
That reminds me of a joke. So a reporter goes to this woman, and she has like the leathery skin, missing teeth, and she looks to be about 105. And so the reporter says, "Wow, you look so vibrant and young. Can you tell me how you do it?" And so the woman says, "Yeah, every day I drink 2 liters of soda. I smoke 4 stogies. I eat a lot of bacon, ham, and everything fatty, saturated fats, everything, candy, popcorn, all that stuff, and, got to be like this." And so the reporter's like, "Oh, and how old are you?" And she replies, 32.
Ultimately, you're drunk.
Wait, you're a feminist? I didn't know Nadia was a feminist. What's good?
What's that again?
I didn't know you were a feminist until I read your screen.
Why not? Citing like Judith Butler and Irigaray, right?
Okay, I have to ask, who did what with who for how many cookies?
I don't take cookies as a currency.
Well, you should. They're delicious.
Yes.
But which ones? I want Carol's cookies, the beet cookies with the whatever acorns they put. How does she make those with acorns and beet? Is that even possible?
Like chocolate chip.
I was talking about The Walking Dead because Carol went out and just picked up some acorns and shit. And just made
Oh, there's a whole process you have to do in order to process them that the show didn't show you.
Oh, like that. Those look like normal cookies. I would never know.
Yeah, no. What they did is they did the little cut bite of gathering the acorns, and next scene you see freshly baked cookies.
Yeah, that is. I want to try that now. Does it actually taste good, or is it just terrible?
Well, there you can do acorn coffee. You can do acorn flour. It just takes a lot to process the actual acorns. because the way as it stands, like in survival, you can take, if you wanted to fish but you don't have anything to fish with, get a small pond where there's like a few fish. Take an acorn shell and just pop it in the water. It has a chemical that'll kill the fish, but it's not really poisonous to you after you process the fish. And so that's why you have to process the acorns in a certain way.
I feel like there should be an easier way to kill the walkers. Way off topic, but I'm thinking, like, what if they found something like raw sewage, and just they came up with a